Hello and welcome to the Computer Game Show. My name's David Turner, and for the last time in a long time, I'm here with Sean Bell.
Yo.
I'm also here with Matt Murray.
Hello.
And James Farley.
Hello.
Firstly, I apologise for my voice. I'm ill, but there's no way I'm putting this podcast off. I've been looking forward to this all week. I can't wait to see what's going to happen. It's our Game of the Year show. And I think I'd better take you through the rules first, because no doubt there's a lot of you that are listening now that have seen the buzz on Twitter and thought, wow, these guys sound crazy. I'm going to get all over this.
Let's get involved with this new show.
Let's listen to this one. So we need to announce what our Game of the Year is. And as you know, collective Game of the Years are quite hard to do. Everyone's got a different opinion on different games. And so what we do is we put all the names in a hat. We've got 16 games here. I'll run you through them in a bit. We're going to put them in a hat, draw them out one by one, and they will face off against each other. Here are the rules. For a game to win and progress to the next round, it requires 3 votes. There's 4 of us. Do the math, right? If it's two, to shut up. If it's 2 apiece, then the arguing takes place and the bartering takes place, and the fun starts. Shall I run through the 16 games first?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, probably should, yeah.
In no particular order, just in the order that I've written them down. Guacamelee 2, Moss, Spider-Man, Detroit Become Human, Forza Horizon 4, Red Dead Redemption 2, The Gardens Between, Monster Hunter World, God of War, Astro Bot Rescue Mission, Yoku's Island Express, Celeste, Yakuza 6, The Song of Life.
Song of Life. Yeah.
Okay. Far Lone Sails, Tetris Effect, and Onrush. There is one more game that's sitting in front of me. The listener's choice. Matt, do you want to run through what happened?
Yeah, so straight after the show launched last week, we asked everyone to email in their suggestions for games that weren't on our list of 16, but games that they felt were some of the best of the year. We got a ton of suggestions. We collated those after a couple of days. I think it was like Thursday. What was the end point? The top 4 of those then went into a poll, and now we have a winner for the listener's choice. The top 4 games were Beat Saber, Dead Cells, Florence, and Into the Breach. We had 315 votes. Bottom of the pile was Florence, sadly, with only 9% of the vote. Then it's pretty tight for the next one. It was Beat Saber with 23%, 25% for Into the Breach, but the by far and away the leader and the winner of this is Dead Cells with 43% of the vote. So Dead Cells is the 2018 TCGS listener's choice, and that is going to take the place of one of our games right now.
Well, that's our first task then. You know the games. We need to replace one of our games with Dead Cells. How are we going to do this? I mean, we've never really settled on a format.
We could each of us nominate one from our list.
Which ones? I think just coming out with 4 games from that list and disregarding everything else is not the right way of doing it. I think we should just name the games that we think stand out.
I mean, of those 16, one of them was picked as a wind-up. So
yes.
How dare you, Sean? I don't know which one you're talking about.
So you reckon Detroit should go, Sean?
I mean, as funny as it is to let whatever. I mean, obviously James has planned something, right? Everyone wants to know what he's fucking playing at.
Surely this is the plan. Oh, I'm so clever.
But maybe that.
Like
then if it is, let's call it. Maybe we should call his bluff and not knock it out.
Exactly. The listeners can't nominate
That's the way I'm thinking, Sean. That's the way I'm thinking.
James knew.
You can do it whichever way you like. I'm fine with whichever one
James,
you choose.
you prick.
James felt like he had a good feeling. Listeners would definitely vote for Detroit Become Human. I'll do what I'll do. I'll be clever. I will nominate it myself. itself, so they can't vote. So the game they suggest,
let's
which
let's
has
call
to
his bluff
replace
then.
one of 16,
Fine,
can't
you
be
could call my
Detroit.
bluff. I'm totally fine with that.
Right, okay, Detroit's in. Detroit's in.
Okay.
It's in. I'm folding it up. It's going in the hat.
I do want to say though. I mean,
No.
okay,
you know what,
fine,
no.
we'll get to this later. But go on.
It's in the hat, mate.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine. I'm totally fine with that. I'm
Okay.
prepared because I
Fine.
anticipated you'd do that, so it's fine.
Oh, did you?
Did you anticipate?
That's
But
right.
surely you mostly anticipated we'll just everyone would gang up on Detroit and lose one of and lose that immediately, and then your little plan has succeeded.
I
Surely
don't know.
that
He
was
don't
what you
seem that
anticipated.
upset, Matt.
I'm
He
not
don't
that
seem
bothered.
that
To be
upset.
honest. It's fine.
It's in the hat.
I mean,
It's in the hat.
I've spent quite a lot of time this afternoon, like crafting. What I've got to say about Detroit. So
Crafting.
it would have been a shame to not have the chance to say that stuff. So
Can we
I'm fine with it.
get this one out of the way, right? So one game that was nominated last week that took us all by surprise, other than Detroit, was Far Lone Sales.
Yeah, I was going
None of
to
us
say we
had
should
heard
address
of it.
this because obviously I knew it was a bit of a pop. However,
So this is what I want to say, right?
okay, go on.
Because we can't talk about these games until they're drawn out of the hat.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So let's do this. Matt, you've played and completed it since
Yes.
last week. I've played and completed it since last week. James, you've played and completed it since last week.
Yep.
Does it deserve to stay in the hat? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes,
Matt? Yes, I agree. So Far Lone Sales,
which
as
I
weird
couldn't
as it
believe.
is.
I mean, last week, what is this game? And then suddenly, yeah,
it's in the hat. Yeah, it's in
it's
the
in the
hat.
hat.
The ones that stick out, right? Okay, the ones that really stick out for me. There's Moss, Guacamelee 2, and well, I suppose Yakuza
I
and
knew you'd go for that.
Monster Hunter. Because Yakuza, what are you going to say, James?
Well,
I mean,
they're
even at
both
the time,
Japanese
you were like,
games, and you don't like Japanese games that much. So
it's got nothing to do with it. Guacamelee 2 isn't a Japanese game, is it? Is Moss?
no.
Exactly. Well then. The reason being, right, Moss, I don't know, I've just heard that Astro Bot has completely, made it look, knocked it down a peg or two.
No. Okay, so are we allowed to discuss this now?
No, not really.
It's still an excellent game.
Right.
Doesn't
Guacamelee
matter how
2,
good Astro Bot is.
you weren't exactly head over heels with that, Matt.
But it's still a very, very, very good game.
But what? So are you saying there's games on this list that are worse than that?
I mean, there's games I haven't played or I'm as familiar with that I would
Like
probably
what?
take off. Like Yakuza is one, I guess. I mean, I've Monster Hunter. I don't think that's fair because I had a great time playing that for the
For the
time I
12
did.
minutes that you played it, yeah.
Probably as much as you did,
I didn't play it at all.
didn't you? Oh, it must have been John I was playing with then. Oh, I
No
guess one you
interest
got
in
it.
it.
That's great.
James, which ones stand out for you then?
The ones we could get. I mean, maybe Guacamelee 2 because I don't know anything about it really. I mean, Matt talked about it, but barely. So I don't know if it's good or not.
Well, I talked about it in the episode. I talked about the episode when I finished it, and then
Yeah, but you haven't been raving about it.
But you were it's just kind of more the same.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's why I was
it is definitely
surprised it
more
was
the
on your
same.
list. It's yeah.
Well, we're getting pretty desperate at that point.
I've got a feeling that was his sixth choice or something. Sixth or
But it was going to be
choice.
Detroit, wasn't it? And then he ended up
exactly,
and then to pull Guacamelee out the bag. So yeah.
It's weird that he only really because he had 5 choices to make, didn't he? Really?
Yeah.
What 5? Oh yeah, plus
James had 3. He gave you one of his for no reason whatsoever.
yeah,
He
stupid.
thinks he's got a plan. He clearly hasn't.
No,
Sean,
he's
what about
been
Sean, what about
working on
you?
something, Dave. He's been crafting something. Didn't you hear?
Well, what about you, Sean? Which ones stick out?
Your voice, Matt, at the moment is enough to make this whole thing worthwhile. But go on.
Sean, which ones?
I feel terrible saying it because I played and really loved the first one, but Guacamelee 2 is sticking out to me as well. Like,
Fucking
I don't know.
hell.
I've just not heard much fuss about it, and I don't know. Whereas like Moss, like Moss is probably another one, but because it's a VR game, I know that's like a full blind spot for me. So I'm not really going to judge that. But I feel like, I don't know.
Also, why is Monster Hunter World safe? Because only Sean's played that.
Well,
No,
I
Matt's
played
played
it.
it. It's
Oh yeah,
just-
sorry,
we just
Matt
said
played it.
that.
I've completely forgot about that. Yeah, it's
12 minutes. What?
Check the hours. It's way longer than that.
So what do you reckon? So are we saying we seem to be leaning toward? I mean, I wouldn't. Guacamelee 2 is probably the one that I'm leaning towards at the moment.
Same.
I mean, Okay, so what else is it? What else is in the mix?
Well, I'd say Tetris Effect is in. Right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
The Gardens Between.
That's in. Yeah.
That's in.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say Red Dead Redemption's in.
Yeah.
Astro Bot's in.
Yep.
God of War's in. Obviously, I'd say Onrush was in, but
what do you two think?
I
See,
don't know.
I'm torn because I think Guacamelee 2, but you see, I wouldn't mind like Yakuza going because I just can't be bothered to do another defense of that game. It's the main reason.
One of your picks is Detroit, which you don't care about, and the other one you do love. You also
I don't
not
care
bothered
about Detroit, Matt. I mean, I do. I have very strong feelings about that game, as we'll find out.
We get it, James.
Yeah.
Like a broken record, we get it.
Yoku's Island's in, right?
Yeah.
Forza Horizon 4's definitely in.
Yeah.
So the ones that I've got in front of me now: Guacamelee 2, Moss, Spider-Man, Monster Hunter World, Celeste, Yakuza 6, and Onrush.
Spider-Man should be in.
Spider-Man. There's no way that'll say nowhere near the bottom. Spider-Man, get it.
I wasn't suggesting it. It was just the ones that we hadn't mentioned. And Celeste, you guys have raved about that enough for that to survive.
That is the hat.
Right.
Right.
This bit has never taken this long, has it? This is
hasn't
tough.
because this is. I seriously, I really do think that Guacamelee 2 is the one that sticks out.
Yeah. I mean, okay. Well, let's decide that's the case. I mean, that game was basically my insurance policy,
right?
Because I thought, okay, James has chosen that. Right, James has chosen Detroit. So he's going to be, oh, brilliant! I'm invincible, and I was going to say, well, I will lose Guacamelee to keep Detroit going.
I mean, you were only going to choose Detroit, Matt, just to annoy me. So
you don't know what I was going to do, James.
Well, why else would you choose it? I mean,
I didn't choose it. You chose it.
Well, I know, yeah, to stop you from choosing it to try and annoy me. It's
brilliant. Well, great plan.
I mean, people in glass houses, James, come on.
You chose that as one of your games of the
Matt,
year.
if we're going to have the fucking Detroit discussion again, we're having it under my terms, not yours.
We're having it
so
again.
that is why this is happening. So go on.
Look at this. This is brilliant. I think what's happened here, Matt, is that James has completely forgotten the format of the show. I genuinely do. I think he thinks that for some reason
vote.
He's the only one that gets to discuss the game when it gets pulled out of the hat. I think that's what's going through his head.
No, but I
get to frame the discussion, so it's fine.
No, you don't.
You get to start it, and then we get to end it.
Exactly, I get to start the discussion, so,
Yeah, well, you've gone from frame to control to start.
In a minute,
either way,
I get to say a word.
The way this goes, though, is that the only way that Detroit is going to go through here is if you guys want to hurt me more than you want to support a game that you love. So we'll just see how it works out.
Do you remember, James?
Yeah.
Do you remember when Titanfall went up against a game that you've not played before, Overwatch?
Yeah. Yeah, of course I remember.
I remember that.
That's fine. I mean, right. if Detroit goes all the way, then I'm just going to take the credit for the fact that I nominated in the first place. So it's fine.
You're taking the credit all the way.
Honestly, James is James. You have. I don't know what's going on in your head. You're talking absolute bollocks already.
You're going to take the credit for voting in Detroit if it wins.
Because I'll take the credit for giving it a prominent platform upon which it can be discussed.
What are you? You're mad, man. James,
right,
you've lost it.
Guacamelee 2.
In the bin.
It's gone.
Yeah, shame. It is a very, 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 very good game. And
look.
I'm sure everyone, if I played it here, they'll enjoy it. Listeners at home as well. So,
no one here is saying that it's a bad game. And in fact, actually, you'd be hard pushed for anyone to say that any game on this list is bad, right? But no, let's get to it. Let's get the first one out of the way. Again, if this is your first time of listening to one of these shows,
strap in.
So there's going to be 8 face-offs and we will talk about the games as they get pulled out of the hat. You may be looking at your podcast player and thinking, we're not past the first round yet and we're 3 hours in. Don't worry. Once we get past that round, we don't discuss the games in depth anymore. It gets down to the voting. So it starts to speed up after that. But let's go. First game out of the hat.
Here we go.
Game of the year 2018. Are you all ready?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I was born ready.
First game. Here we go. Red Dead Redemption 2.
Fucking hell. Right, what's getting knocked out then?
Right, okay. So I was a massive fan of Red Dead Redemption, which is quite strange because obviously I've been going back to that game and watching a lot of stuff on YouTube from that game. And I don't know why. I mean, I think Red Dead Redemption was all about the atmosphere rather than it was the story. The story was pretty good in places, but, you know, it had weak spots and it was a very basic plot and some of the characters were pretty good. But it was more about the atmosphere, about riding around and being a cowboy, and it sort of nailed that. We all knew, or we all expected Red Dead Redemption 2 to be good. I think not only was it very good, it was an incredibly brave game. I mean, some of the decisions that they made in terms of, you know, stuff that the options that it gave you to do in terms of horse maintenance, the side missions, you know, Arthur and how he spends his time and how that affects the world around him. But ultimately, I think with Red Dead Redemption 2, initially you're grabbed by some of the best voice acting in any game ever. Some of the most interesting characters that I've experienced in a game. I mean, when this game had come out and we were talking about it at length, I was comparing it to Mass Effect 2 quite a lot. And I stand by that. I think I fell in love with the characters in this as much as I did in that game. And in fact, actually, in some instances, I think it surpassed that game because I think they were a lot more believable characters. The way that those characters sort of flourished and matured throughout the game was really exciting, and it just kept me pushing forward. But on top of that, you had one of the best looking games I've ever seen in my life. You had it filled with just not only with stuff to do, but with stuff going on around you. Do you know what I mean? Like the first time you roll into Valentine, and you know, it's partly, oh my God, this looks amazing. Look at the mud and the water, like forming puddles within the mud on the floor, and stepping on the mud, it creates little puddles and all that sort of stuff. But it was also like a hustling, bustling town. People hanging on ledges and falling over and, you know, just walking on, going around their daily business. I mean, again, the first like few hours of that game, James and I were comparing it to Shenmue. It was like it was trying to do what Shenmue does, and in fact, actually, this kind of it had the technology to pull off what that original vision was. You know, the fact that you could ride around and see people of your like members of your gang, and you could just go up to them and talk to them and say anything and treat them like shit or treat them nicely, and then that would have an effect. You know, all that stuff was brilliant from the start, but what I think I went on to appreciate once I'd completed the game is, yeah, all that stuff was great, but the story from start to finish, when you really do go over it again, you know, in your head, and you think back and you think about certain missions and characters and how things panned out, it's mind-blowing. It's easily, by far, the best story that Rockstar have ever written. And the fact, like, the other thing to remember is just how much of an effect this has on the plot of the first game. Like, when you go and look at the plot of the first game, you read up on it, you look at scenes on YouTube and stuff, it couldn't have been done better, in my opinion. Like, we were all worried about it being a prequel. We were all worried about John Marston being in it and how he's perceived in the first game and what effect that's going to have on the original story. This just absolutely fucking nailed it. You know what I mean? It pieced things together. It made... it was just... I can't imagine how much work has gone into producing a story like this. and having it link up with the first game in the way that it does, is absolutely stunning. I mean, it's hard to bang on about because we've been talking about it like at length for the past couple of months, really. But I don't want people to underestimate how much I loved this game. You know, there were people that came out against it and there were complaints about it, and some of them I can certainly see and understand, but they just did not affect me at all. Like, I loved every moment with this game. And yeah, I could play Red Dead Redemption 3 tomorrow. Like, in fact, part of me is thinking about just starting over, doing it all again. I liked it that much. It blew me away. Anyway, Sean, you were taken by this as well, weren't you?
I was, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to try and think what to say that isn't just echoing what we've said over the last few weeks on the show anyway, but yeah, just as you say, the way that it not only fits perfectly with Red Dead Redemption 1, but actually improves it in some ways. Like, certain sort of offhand remarks by characters in Red Dead Redemption 1 are sort of fleshed out so brilliantly in this that hearing them again in Red Dead Redemption 1 is like, seems really evocative and like, oh my god, yeah, they're referring to this whole thing that I now know about. And yeah, as you say, the story, like, Red Dead Redemption 1 nailed like a cowboy game. Like, it was, you know, it still had the whole thing of like, oh, you know, it's in the dying days of you know, this sort of cowboy frontier thing, like everything's getting civilized and there aren't, like, cowboys aren't really a thing anymore, and sort of, you know, the dying days of the West and all that. But even though Red Dead Redemption 2 is set before it, I think it nails that a lot better. Like, it's a game about things winding up and coming to a close, which is not, and not necessarily in a nice way. And that is a very rare thing. Like, so many games are all about like you maybe start off a bit rubbish and build yourself up, and by the end you're brilliant and you win. And this is basically the opposite of that, which I think is incredibly bold. And it's a Western where you spend, like, your gang spends most of its time going east, and just like, which again, just fundamentally, it's like, you know, it's the writers trying to be like, look, this is it's the inverse of a cowboy story. Like, yeah, you ride around on a horse and you've got guns, but it's not a cowboy game, really. And I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I would also say that, you know how we talk about emotional scenes in gaming, and, you know, there's emotional moments or whatever. One thing we don't tend to talk about when we talk about sort of narrative in games are powerful scenes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't hear that a lot. Like, God, that scene was really powerful. Like you do when you talk about film, cinema and stuff. There are scenes in this game, one in particular that we sort of referred to last week, that was properly powerful. Yep. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't you weren't sitting there going, oh my God, something's happened and it's making me cry. I was like, holy shit. Fuck. That is dark. It's perfectly played. It is, yeah, like, that was a very, very powerful scene. And, you know, it made me feel feelings that games haven't made me feel before. Yeah, simply through the plot. Like, as you know, this is ignoring all the other shit that's in it. But the plot as well was managing to do stuff like that to me. It's, again, for a Rockstar game, that's so weird. Because you think about stories that we've had in the past, even Red Dead Redemption 1, when you go back and watch it, there's a lot of like slapstick stuff in it, and lots of cheap jokes and stuff. Grand Theft Auto, I mean, that's their own thing. It's almost a comedy, those games, you know, a dark comedy. I mean, they've never nailed it like this before. I mean, the closest, you know, Max Payne 3 had a fantastic story, but it was nowhere near this, nowhere near it.
Yeah, it's like you say, the sort of the impactful scenes, like, you know, most games, it's like, oh, did you see the bit where there was the plot twist, or where this person died, or whatever? Whereas this is like, yeah, I can't say without spoiling it, but yeah, there are cutscenes in this that are just two people having a chat, and they're just so beautifully written and acted, and yeah, and memorable. Even though nothing even really happens in some of them. Yes.
Well, I mean, even say, as I said, Sean, like, it's throughout the game, I was playing poker. I'd mentioned that. Going through, like going to bars and just like playing with randoms, and that's one thing. But when I realised that you could set up and play a game of poker in your camp, and it was like suddenly it wasn't just random NPC has made a bet. Suddenly it was like fucking Lenny laying down his cash. I'm like, right, okay, he's serious here. Fucking Pearson turns up, and I'm like, I am going to bankrupt you. Pearson's the cook, Matt.
Yeah, very good, David.
Should we see what it's up against?
Well, hang on. Are we not all going to say our bits, or we can do it after?
Of course you can, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is a bit of a strange one because I had a bit of a troubled start. I guess the first 15 hours, I was like, I'm just really pushing through against the overly complicated and what I thought was terrible controls.
You get used to them.
Yeah, you do definitely get used to them. Although at first, this just feels horrible to just control, and it's like hold this button to do that. It just felt overly complicated and not satisfying at all. The missions, I still think are largely pretty basic. They do have the capacity to change in the middle and stuff, but you generally do know the format of go somewhere, shoot someone, come back, etc., etc. But
yeah.
As we covered, the story is just, I thought it's just so amazingly, it's just absolutely brilliant. It was a story that kept me going through, against the controls, against this mission structure and this that, and the other. The story is amazing. And for people who maybe have given up on it, who tried and they couldn't be bothered, I feel sorry that they're not going to experience this story because, yeah, that's going to stay in me for a long, long time. I thought it's truly excellent. If the story wasn't as good, maybe I would have given up. I'm not sure, but the characters, the story, yeah, I thought it was fantastic. But I still don't think I still don't think it's a 10. As obviously all the reviews came out, they were all ridiculously high. It feels like when the game came out, that's when people started saying, "Oh, but the controls this, or the mission this, or this isn't amazing."
This is the thing. Like, if the next game that comes out is one of mine, I can definitely come up with a load of stuff to criticize Red Dead 2 for. It's not perfect by any means, but it is fucking ambitious. So,
oh yeah,
but the stuff that he does is like, I mean, we'll get down to that when it comes up against something. Should we just find out what it's up against, James? Do you want to say anything?
I've got nothing because I've barely played it. So
barely played it.
How many hours did you play in the end?
I only just got to chapter 2 because then I stopped and played Spider-Man. But it is the next game on my list that I'm going to play. So yeah.
I pulled one out, and this is how my paranoia is going, right? You're going to have to trust me. I pulled one out, didn't unwrap it, and then I thought, well, they can hear me pull it out, so they might think that I'm checking. So I chucked it back in, but then I thought, that sounds worse. Now, because it looks like I've checked it and chucked it back in. That's not the case, I promise.
It was against Onrush, wasn't it? Let's just
have it against. Yoku's Island Express.
Oh, shit.
Another one of mine.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yes, that is a toughie.
Yoku's Island Express is a side-scrolling Metroidvania type game where you collect items and it gives you access to different areas. You play a bug on an island who's rolling a dung ball, is it? I assume. And that acts as a pinball. The island's filled with flippers and tables and bumpers and everything. And you're essentially flying around this world by being flipped up with these flippers in pinball-style levels. There's a wonderful story behind it about gods that are looking after islands and god slayers that are trying to take them down. It's filled with wonderful characters, like genuinely brilliant characters. It looks stunning. It's like got that sort of painted look to everything, hand-painted, handcrafted look. And it's just amazingly fun to play. I think part of it was initially it was, oh my god, this is surprisingly good, because it kind of came out of nowhere. But then the more I played it, the more I was like, no, this isn't surprisingly good, this is just genuinely brilliant. I just had so much fun playing it. I think the music is stunning. I think, yeah, I loved everything about Yoku's Island Express, and even long after I finished the game itself, I went back in and 100%ed it, and I don't do that a lot but I loved the mystery around certain aspects of this game so much that it forced me to go back in and mop everything up, and I wasn't disappointed. Like I mean, I also appreciated it because I spent the majority of that game playing it with my son. We would sit down on the sofa and spend hours just flying around this world, and it's hard to get across. So it was funny because when we were initially talking about this, it was just before it came out. And my initial worry was that it was one of those games that I really loved, that some people might find it a bit irritating. You know, like if you want to get from A to B, it's not that simple. You know, you've got to get through a series of pinball tables. So I was a little bit concerned that it wasn't going to explode when it came out. But then when the reviews hit, it was like, oh no, I didn't have to worry because it reviewed so well, and then it started blowing up on Twitter, and everyone was talking about it. And it really is just a brilliant game. If you've not played this, I can't imagine a better. If you've just bought a Switch, I can't imagine a better game to play over Christmas. Do you know what I mean?
It was such a great Christmas game. Yeah, definitely.
Just sitting playing it. I mean, it's not insanely long. It can be if you want to 100% everything, but I could just imagine sitting down and playing this over Christmas. It's just perfect for that. Just fun, doesn't take up like any frustration. It's not frustrating. It's cute. It's filled with wonderful characters. I think it's an absolute classic, and I think there'll be a Yoku's Island 2 very soon. And I think that'll be just as good, if not better, because there's room to expand.
Definitely,
on this.
It feels like this could definitely be the start of a series of games,
a franchise.
I didn't want to say. Totally. I was going to say that, but I didn't want to say that because that just sounds so corporate and like.
Yeah,
we're going to do.
That's what people call
we're going to do.
Like
a ton of these and all sorts. But yeah, more Yoku's Island definitely expand it in any way they can. But yeah, it's an absolute joy to play this game.
Yeah, and it. One sec, but before you go on to it, James, Sean, did you play it in the end?
A little bit.
Oh no,
not enough to really comment. Other than I fucking love the concept, like a Metroidvania where you're a dung beetle with a ball, and occasionally it's kind of a pinball game. It's like just what a smart way to like instantly. It's like an interesting traversal mechanic, and it gives you this sort of interesting change of pace where like sometimes it's like a platform game, and then occasionally you'll be like, okay, I'm kind of not locked in, but like here's like a sort of a set pinball table bit.
Stop 1 sec.
Who's doing that?
That was an accident.
What happened? I didn't hear.
3 times.
Yeah, it was.
What's going on?
4
What
times,
are you
actually,
Siriing, James?
No, I wasn't Siriing anything. I was just typing something in, and then I accidentally pressed the Siri button.
What?
What are you typing
who
in?
are you typing to?
I ain't typing to anyone. I'm just typing in on my Twitter at the moment. That's all.
On Twitter?
Yeah.
Why?
Why are you tweeting?
Just having a look. That's all.
We're in the
What do
middle
you
of
mean?
the
You're
podcast.
just checking Twitter during one of the biggest shows of the year.
Yeah, just get on with it. Anyways,
He's getting on to Siri. What is Yoku's Island Express?
Yeah.
James, this is the big pod of the year, and you're on
This is
Twitter.
fucking weird, James. What is going on with you?
Nothing. I'm fine. Go on.
First Detroit,
He's
now
scheming.
this.
I'm keeping an eye on Twitter. I want to know what's going on. Anyway,
James, it's your go.
No, Sean was speaking.
I was pretty much done.
He was speaking, you were tweeting.
It's just a smart idea that feeds into the game in sort of lots of cool and interesting and different ways, and I think that is worth celebrating. Like, there's been a lot. There's been quite a resurgence of Metroidvanias over the last couple of years: Axiom Verge, Hollow Knight, Dead Cells, and so on. But they're all quite familiar in a lot of ways, whereas this seems like just like a really interesting take on it. But
Yeah, I mean,
this is it, isn't it? I mean, you look at it and you think this looks like a million indie games.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is that it looks beautiful, it's side-scrolling, it's going to be another indie game, but it's so much more than that. You know what I mean? What I mean by that is that indie games that look like this usually have one very good idea that they tend to, 9 times out of 10, expand on well enough, but never really sort of just nail.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This one fucking nails it. Like it nails it. Some of the stuff that's in there is so clever. I think this I can't wait to see more from Yoku and his island.
And in
James?
terms of like, I'll just jump in just before James says. In terms of like Metroidvanias, I played a bunch over the last few months, and it's easily the most charming.
You haven't played Monster Boy yet, but which is also good. But this is, I mean, I was not expecting to like this because I don't really care that much for pinball games, but it's not a pinball game really. I mean, it is the mechanic of the whole thing, but I was just totally drawn in by the exploration, which I thought was absolutely fantastic in this game, and just like figuring out the puzzles and everything. It was really so good. I mean, I didn't spend as much time with it as you, David, because I know you like unlocked everything. Whereas by the time I got to the end, I felt kind of done by that point. But I still have that feeling of like I should go back at some point and play some more of this because it really is something special, I think.
Did you finish the main story?
Yeah, I finished that.
Okay, cool. Okay, then this kills me. It absolutely kills me. It's one of those that I really wanted to get Yoku through as many rounds as humanly possible.
Well, we can still do that.
We can still do that, yeah.
Not when it's up against Red Dead Redemption 2, Matt. Not for me. Red Dead Redemption 2, for me, is just one of the best games of the year. And so's Yoku's Island Express, you know. But I can't... I mean, they're both my games. I've got to make a decision. And I guess I made that decision when I was nominating these games, and the first game that I said was Red Dead Redemption 2. So I'm voting Red Dead. Matt?
Well, I mean, if I think about like which game frustrated me more, it's easily Red Dead. Which one's more charming? It's Yoku's Island. I mean, I absolutely loved Yoku's. Had my problems with Red Dead, but I mean, for this, the better overall sort of piece is Red Dead for sure.
So is that your vote?
So are we not going to have a discussion? We're going straight to vote, are we? Is that it?
I mean,
that's what we've discussed both games, Matt.
Well, it hasn't really been a discussion. There's been like people saying their pieces. Whatever. I'll vote Red Dead.
I mean, they're two different, aren't they? You can't. I don't know what sort of discussion there is to be had in terms of this versus this, because they're just completely different scales, aren't they?
Look. All these games deserve to be on this list.
Yeah, exactly.
They're all
That's the thing. Like,
games.
There's no shame in getting booted out in the first round because all
Absolutely
16
not.
of these are bangers.
The only thing is that Yoku's Island Express, I loved it so much that I was rooting for it to just not, like, I wanted to get through a few rounds.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not many games on this list that I'd be voting for ahead of Yoku's Island Express. But it just so happens, the luck of the draw, it's come out against Red Dead Redemption 2, which is one of my favourite games. So it kills me, but that's the way I've had to vote.
Yeah.
Sean?
I mean, like I haven't played enough of Yoku's, so I've got to vote Red Dead, haven't I? Because otherwise I'm just being a wind-up merchant. So, yeah,
James?
Red Dead.
Well, the thing is I would have to go for Yoku because I've not played it, but I've not played enough of Red Dead to be able to make the decision. So,
but I'm happy with that because then that means it's had a vote. Like,
wasn't a total.
And part of me thinks that as well. That there's a lot of games that it would have just taken out. A lot of games it would have taken out. But Yoku's Island Express, the first one to go. That is absolutely gutting for me.
That's such a shame.
That is incredibly unlucky.
That's actually a bummer.
Yeah.
Anyone listening to this, you should absolutely play Yoku's. It's just...
It's very good.
It's just brilliant.
It's just brilliant. I finished the main story, but after that, I didn't play much more. But this makes me want to just try and go for 100% over Christmas. Because, it's just charming as fuck.
Each one of those little wicklings were like a little puzzle. And it was, some are not as good as others, but there were some really interesting ideas behind hiding those things. And just discovering that whole map and everything, and the story was so good. Next game out of the hat. Astrobot's Rescue Mission.
Astrobot Rescue Mission is a PSVR game. It's a third-person platformer, but it's in VR. So you, as the player, you take the role of the camera in game, and you use your controller to move Astrobot around. You as a player don't really move apart from these set little increments in a level, but mostly what you do as a player is you can aid Astrobot with the controller, which is visualized in game. The controller has many tools. It might have like a laser, it might have like ninja stars, it might have like tons of various little elements, and you use those as well as obviously using the DualShock itself to help and to move Astrobot around the levels. Now, I was vaguely aware of Astrobot as a character because there was a 3D. There's a demo on the PlayStation World's demo disc, which is basically, it's a 3D platformer. You take control of one of those little like Sony PlayStation mascots, and when we all played it at PSVR launch weekend together on the show, we said, "Oh, well, this is really amazingly good fun. It's excellent." And then what transposes, obviously, they obviously built on those, but built on what made that so good, and then now we're left with Astrobot Rescue Mission. The game itself is the most charming game I've played this year, and maybe for many, many years. Astrobot as a little character, which you see as you move around levels and controlling him, he's just an amazing little mascot. He should definitely be Sony's new mascot over something like Sackboy or whatever else they're currently using. Astrobot itself is a cute little thing. You can wave to it. Even its idle animations are really cute, and just like seeing him.
I mean, when you say you can wave to it, I mean you can.
I did
wave to any character in the same wave.
Yeah, I know, but you can just but
not actually waving to it in the game. It's like
but after what waves too, doesn't it? At points anyway. So from the first second you start this game, or when I started this game, I was like, oh my god, this game just looks really beautiful. PSVR games generally, they don't look incredible. Obviously, they're much lower resolution than games you're used to on TV. But in terms of sort of like the graphical style and the colors used, it really, like, almost instantly, I was like, wow, this has got a Nintendo feel. And maybe if it wasn't the graphics, it was absolutely the sound and the music. The first level, the first track, the first seconds of the track, I'm like, oh my god, this feels almost like Nintendo level of quality, just instantly, without even moving the character. And then you start to experience the levels. And this game is constantly throwing new and clever ideas at you. And then just when you think you've sort of got a measure of it, it ditches them and it brings more clever ideas, really clever use of VR, really great use of interaction between you and Astrobot in the environment. Every single level, there was another great surprise. With every level, I was texting James, and we were playing it around the same time, saying, "Oh my god, have you done that bit on 2-1 or 2-2 or 3-1?" Or almost every level there was another great moment. And you don't often see it in many games, but this is a game where I just had to text James at almost every level, saying, "You've got to see this. I can't believe that happened. This made me feel this." Yeah, it's one of the best games I've played in such a long time. It was, I think it took me like 8 or so hours. Every minute of those, I was enjoying myself. It's just a joy to be in that world. The music, the charm, the graphics, the actual inventiveness of the platforming, the difficulty curve. I think ramps up really, really well. It doesn't get hard, but it does get more taxing towards the end as you're juggling abilities and also as the levels get much more complex in like the fifth world. The bosses are definitely some of the best I've had in the game in so long. Obviously, the fact it's VR and 3D and it's in your face, that obviously adds a massive, massive part to it. But it's all the bosses are fantastic. The final boss is absolutely brilliant, and I absolutely love this game so much. It's just it's fantastic. And the only disappointing thing about this game is that not everyone is going to get to try it, because obviously you need PSVR, so that's what, like a 200 or so, £200 plus investment to play this game, and that's the only upsetting thing. People might think, oh well, VR, like I don't care about VR, or I feel sick, or isn't it all just a fad? It's such a shame that so many people aren't going to get a chance to experience this game. Obviously, there's been like Mario 64 comparisons. That isn't in this game is as good as Mario 64, but for me, it's like I think, but playing this game for the first moment, it felt like a sort of a Mario 64 moment. Like, oh my god, feels like a new way to do platforming. It feels like this could be the start of something truly incredible. If this is like the first really big push, I absolutely loved Astrobot Rescue Mission.
I finished it this week.
Oh yeah,
and pretty much echo most of what you said. I mean, Jesus Christ, the bosses. Boss battles have not been done this well for God knows how long. And, part of it, a very small part of it, is the scale of the things. It nails the scale. The huge enemies that you're fighting against in this game actually look huge because, they're actually in your face. But the imagination that's gone into each and every one of them, from the way they look to the way they act and their attacks and everything, it's just so incredibly well done. And as you say, like, the music can't be underestimated. The soundtrack to this game is incredible. Like, it's so good. The platforming can be at times right up there with good Mario levels. Especially the funfair level in World 5.
Oh, yeah.
Is just a complete standout for that
that's
stuff.
a neon one, isn't it? Yeah, I remember when I started that, I was looking around and thinking, like, this level compared to the first one, it's so much more complex, but it just looked so good, and yeah.
See, for me, it didn't look anywhere near as good as some of the others, but
you don't think?
It didn't need it didn't need to, though, because it was just like, that's where it finally went, okay, let's do some platforming. And that I was more excited about that than I was about the visuals. You know what I mean? Like, I just thought, I'm getting into this now. This is actual, this is a platformer now. This is, it's hard to explain to people that obviously don't have access to PSVR. Won't get to play this, but it's incredible how they nail it from start to finish.
The controls are one of the things that I think was most impressive, and I think adding, like the hover thing that you have with that is genius because of the fact that you're like operating in that like 3D space in VR. It sort of adds an extra level of sort of like precision to it that makes it much more sort of easy to.
It's a great little fail-safe, isn't it? Because there will be angles where it might be difficult to see exactly where you are. And also other games they might use like a shadow on the ground. But in this case, you may be beneath the platform, so you can't even utilise the shadow. But the little jetpack to stop in case you were to fall off or miss a platform is an absolute genius move.
It's just like, everything about this game, it to me feels like it's been designed to be just as friendly as possible. Like to play and just not frustrating at all. Like, no point at any point did I get sort of frustrated with the game. I think, that's impressive.
Sean, will you ever get to play this?
Ever. Just to echo the Nintendo comparisons, like, it must be so weird as a developer to get that comment that, if this was a Nintendo game, everyone would be going nuts over it. Because on the one hand, it must be quite frustrating because it implies that it's not getting the credit it deserves, whilst also being like the highest praise you can possibly give like a game like this. I am hoping I will get to try it out at some point, but I haven't. So not a lot else I can.
Yeah, Nintendo thing's interesting. If someone said, this is actually a team that used to work at Nintendo and this is their first game, you would say, I can totally see where the lineage is in this game.
Yeah.
I really hope you do get to try it over Christmas, Sean. I can't wait to hear what you think about it.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Right. What's it up against? Let's go with this one. Moss.
Oh.
It's also one of Matt's, isn't it?
It's funny that
weird,
it's a weird it's against this because I guess I would say up to before Astrobot, Moss was one of the best platformers on system. Moss is it's another 3D platformer. I guess you can call it that, but you play the role of Quill. It's this little mouse character, and essentially it's like a big storybook game. You play this little mouse, and there's like a story about needing these sort of like these magical how do you even describe them? But it doesn't matter. It's like it's you in like this storybook fairy tale sort of world. You go from like location to location, and again, you as the person in this game, you the human playing it, you take the role of this person who basically oversees Moss. And again, like Astrobot, Moss will look up to you and do little idle animations and make you feel part of the world. Yeah, so you are known as the reader. And there were some great little moments in this where you, as the reader, would maybe overlook a body of water, and you'll look down and you'll see your reflection. You'll see your reflection in the game. But yeah, so you go from location to location. It's all like
you see. Whoa, slow down. What you see your reflection in the? What do you mean?
Yeah. So you are this. You're this thing called the reader, where you basically like two brightly coloured eyes, and you'll think you're wearing a hood. But if you overlook a lake, there's a bit towards the beginning where you see like this pond, and if you like lean forward enough, you then get to see your reflection in the game. And it's a quite cool little moment, because before that, I don't think you've known who you are in the game.
But what was the reflection?
It's a reflection of his character that you take the role of.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. In my head, for some reason, it was like a picture of you. I was like, how have they done that?
Yeah. But yeah. Quill itself is a really, really charming little mouse character. Again, like Astrobot, full of loads of really gorgeous animations. Just like the way you can look at her in the game, and like the way she looks back. You can also like go up to her and make her jump, because she might be looking the other way. You can use the dual shock in the game and basically almost make her jump, so you do really feel part of her world. What it does is it uses a dual shock controller, and you'll use the sticks to move Quill around, but also using motion tracking on the dual shock itself, you can move the pad around in 3D space, and use the triggers to grab onto things. You might pull levers, you might open doors, you might do this, that, and the other. And it's a really nice little control method of using both the sticks, which we're used to in tons of games, to move the character, but also using the controller in 3D space to grab things and stuff. It's not a terribly long game. I think it's like 3 to 4 hours or so. But the story it tells is really, really nice. It's all done through. So you go from location to location. There's not a lot of story in those, as much as an environmental storytelling can do. But between each level, you're then sat in a massive 3D representation of a church, and you're basically having a book read to you. So you can turn the pages. There's someone narrating the story. So the whole thing has a really big fairy tale vibe to it, which I think is fantastic. It does feel like genuinely quite a magical game. The game itself, other than like going around and doing all puzzles, it brings in combat as well. The combat, it can be quite complex. The combat itself isn't quite complex, but when you try and do puzzles and also kill enemies on the screen and combine that with some of the platforming to get across chasms or whatever you're doing, it can be quite frantic at points towards the end. But yeah, it's strange that it's come against Astrobot, and it's a shame, because yeah, I thought this game was excellent, and before Astrobot came along, this will be a massive recommendation and easily one of the best games on the system. I still think it is, actually, in all honesty, but Astrobot would, I guess, pip it if it were to be a recommendation for one or the other. But Moss is excellent. It's also
what we have to do. So yeah.
What
do you think, James?
These, and as well, and it's. See, I would say, I mean, Moss is a very good game, but it's also a game that I feel. I said when I played it, I didn't feel like it really mattered that it was in VR, like to the same degree that Astrobot does at all.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I agree. I think it could work in non-VR. I don't think VR is essential in the same way as Astrobot, anywhere near that, in fact. But it certainly adds something for you to feel part of the world as the reader. I think it definitely adds something, certainly.
Especially, I'll tell you what, the stuff in the cathedral is amazing. Like, I remember sitting down in there, and you get a real sense of place, like sitting there, like looking around, like all the books and all that kind of thing. That was really good.
Yeah, like having a story read to you. It gets really darker points, and I was really convinced something was going to burst out and get me. So it's only it's like 5 hours, but I really want to see more. I think given what things that happen in a story will certainly imply that there will be more, and I hope it is. And when they announce another Moss game, I will be all over it because I really enjoyed my 5 or so hours with the game. It's a shame it's come against Astrobot, but it's excellent. And this is also, I think, it's definitely on Vive. It may well be on Oculus as well. But yeah, it's a lovely little story. I think it's well worth picking up.
Okay, voting time, Matt.
Yeah, as much as I love this, it has to be Astrobot for me.
James?
Astrobot.
I'm going Astrobot. Sean?
Moss? No, Astrobot.
What's that?
Astrobot.
Right, okay. Completely pointless. You've not played either of them. But,
yeah, I'm down to 2 already.
Moss is out.
It's a shame. It was good.
Here we go.
It's a real shame. But again, all these games are good now, so everyone that gets knocked out is going to be a shame.
Yeah.
Far Lone Sales.
Hey!
Sean's game.
My
Sean,
game.
Why? What is Far Lone Sales, and why is it on the list?
Far Lone Sales is, I mean, yeah, on the face of it, it is a 2D platformer, but the hook is, it takes a lot from, these games that there's like a couple of them now where it's like you and other people running around like inside like a ship or something and having to hit buttons. So like, we played regular human basketball at Res this year and that was amazing. And like Lovers in Dangerous Space Time is another one. But they're all like fun co-op games, whereas this, as the name implies, is about doing all that stuff on your own. And you've got this, like you start off in this house and it looks like you've just buried someone, and you then sort of make your way over to this workshop where there's this vehicle that you get in, and like, I mean, the inside of the vehicle is amazing because it's all sort of neatly set out so that there are little tricks you can figure out to sort of do things more efficiently. But then there's like a little bedroom with like a little space you can hang stuff up in, and it's like totally like doesn't serve any purpose other than to be like, this vehicle was built for you to do a long journey in.
Oh no! I mean, it's when you save and reload it, that's your starting point.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I think
you must have played it through.
I was going to say, I think I did it in like one sitting. Yeah, so
so there's moments where you like, if you save, quit the game, come back, you wake up in bed.
Okay,
really? I also did it in one sitting, so I never experienced that. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool.
And it is sort of the inverse of those games, which, as I say, they're sort of manic because you're all having fun shouting at each other, whereas this is like, you've just got to do everything yourself, and you have to multitask event. Like initially, it's just like pick up fuel from the road and then chuck it in the engine and then push a button, feed it through, and then occasionally you have to like, there's like other things you can push and stuff that make you a bit more efficient and what have you. But it's really simple. But then by the end, you've like added so many bits to the vehicle that like you're managing all these other systems and you're dealing with like environmental effects or things going on outside of the vessel that you have to deal with. I mean, in terms of puzzles, it's very light. Like I think most of the puzzles are basically like just look around. Oh, there's a button to push that makes this happen. Then push something else. Like it wasn't particularly taxing at any point, I thought. But I just loved the idea that it's like it's sort of constantly riding this line between like being just about manageable and really not. Like there's a couple of bits where you properly lose it and you like really start to panic, and but you can, if you just take a second and think about what to prioritize, what to do and where to go, and like you can get through it. And I think like it's beautiful. Like it looks absolutely stunning. The soundtrack's unbelievable as well. The fact that it's quite reactive as well. Like when you first set off in the ship and you're still kind of learning like how to keep it going. I don't know if you notice, like if you do fuck up and like you lose your power and the vehicle stops, the soundtrack sort of fades out, and then as you get it going again, it like comes back in.
Well, that's really noticeable towards the end of the game,
yes,
isn't it? When the power runs out.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there's this big score raising up, and then it just stops. It's really clever.
And the stuff with the radio as well, like. Did you?
Oh yeah, I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I lost mine in my playthrough, and I was absolutely gutted.
Hang on. What radio?
I was gutted.
There's I forget where you pick it up, but there's a part in the game where suddenly
you basically got a big tower.
You fucked up.
Yeah, I did
you
that
fucked up though, James. Did you? because on your okay, I can say this, not really a spoiler. I was checking out. I wasn't actively seeking out anyone, but I noticed that you'd played it on Steam. So I had a look at your achievements, and one of your achievements was set radio on fire. So I think you must have accidentally dropped it in some fire or something.
There was a weird bit at the beginning where there's like I thought it was like a post box, like like when you were going into the house.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I picked something up. I picked that up. And then, started carrying it across. But then, for some reason, it kept on glitching and appearing in different parts of the screen. I don't know what that was about. And then I kind of lost it. So I don't know. Was that the radio, or what was that?
Oh no! The radio is when you climb that big tower and set the radio. There was a little portable radio next to it.
I didn't know there was a portable one. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can just take it with you and just listen to it. But
the thing that done me right is that that postbox thing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was the whole point in the game, that I was delivering it to someone. So I had it all the way through, and then obviously, you don't need to do that, but you get an achievement for it. So I was like, fuck.
Amazing. I'm trying to think. I saw a trailer for this a while ago, and then it came out to so little fanfare, mainly presumably because it is only on PC. I know I said on the last episode I thought it was on the Xbox as well. It still isn't. It's supposedly on its way, but being a game like this that is PC only, is never. It's not big news, is it? If something's PC only, then unless it's a fucking MOBA or something, then it's not really doesn't appeal to that sort of main sort of PC audience. So it really needs to come out on consoles. But
Sean, we didn't know about this game. Yeah. I hadn't heard of it before. Yeah. You didn't mention it on the show for whatever reason. I'm so glad you did, because I really, really enjoyed it.
Cool. Good.
I loved it. I thought it was brilliantly done. I loved the atmosphere. It really reminded me of Wall-E. It had that feeling of completely on your own, doing these little repetitive tasks. Especially right at the beginning where you getting off, picking up a box, walking back on, putting it on the thing, pressing the button, and then soon enough I was like, I've got to do this, now I'll do that, but I was all on my own, and it was just me making my way through my journey, and it just really just made me think of that opening 10 minutes of Wall-E, where it was just this little dude just rocking about, just crushing things into squares, you know what I mean?
And I love the fact that it sort of transitions from it being really sad that you're on your own to actually feeling really fucking capable as a result. You were I was kind of I'm so glad there's not another character on here, because I just need to get this bit done. and then that's on fire now. So, and I must stress this as well, the game isn't that. The game's not set out to go, now this is on fire over there, now go over there. It's not like that at all. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if you could get through the whole game without taking damage.
Because
it doesn't.
I bet there's parts where it does it on purpose. Yeah.
Well, maybe, but for the most part, I was braking before getting to walls and managing to, not fuck up my vehicle too much.
See, I really love the vehicle as well, because by the end I felt so protective of it. You just feel and also when you have things like storms and stuff happen, I just felt it's okay. I'm in my safe space. It's going to be
and the sound design, the way it transitions to sort of the internal rain noise when you're inside.
That's great.
But also my favourite bit with the atmosphere was when it just suddenly starts to become dark. And it's just, it's so atmospheric, the whole of that. I mean, I'll tell you something else that this reminded me of, and I don't know, I know why, but you probably won't agree, but you remember, in Half-Life 2, there's those whole sections where you're It really reminded me of that. I don't know why. It's because it's all the bridges and the kind of the way the landscapes are set out really reminded me of that. And it was that same sort of feeling of being alone, but it's okay, that you're on your own. And I absolutely love this. It's I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, it didn't look that great on mine because I was playing on a old MacBook and it didn't look as good, but it still was nice enough to make me think. I mean, I'd love to play something like this on the Switch again, as everyone always says, but it was very good.
What I will say is that when this does come out on consoles next year, get it.
Yeah,
just get it. I can't recommend it enough. I loved it.
Yeah, this felt like Inside, but just nowhere near as dark. And I thought, I can't believe. I mean, I wanted to text you, Sean, but I didn't want to like ruin it for the show. But I wanted to like, how have we not heard about this game before? This is like, it's not quite as good as Inside, not quite as affecting as Inside, but it's definitely along the same sort of lines. I thought this is great.
It seems so polished. It seems so polished. You know what I mean? It's so well put together that you'd expect it to be, reviewed as loudly as other games. It doesn't feel like this small indie game that slipped through the net. It feels like as you say, like an Inside or a Limbo that everyone should be talking about.
It's funny as well because it's not terribly long, but it's also one of the first of these kind of games that I've really felt I actually want to go back and play through that again because it was a very enjoyable experience. To be in that vehicle.
Without spoiling anything, did you guys get the story reveal later on? That's a no. Then
what I understand when you go into the offices, you mean?
Yeah.
Not really.
No, I didn't twig until I finished the game and then I started another playthrough, and then suddenly it became clear, and I probably should have twigged first time, but yeah.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't, so I'll find out later.
Okay, well, we'll discuss it afterwards. But again, without spoiling anything, did the ending get you?
Not really.
No?
I liked it. I thought it was beautiful, but it didn't get me.
Okay.
I thought it was nice. There was like I didn't say it got me, but I could, it made me feel. It sort of changed my mood, but it wasn't like oh my god. But it was it was a good. I thought it was a great story. It was very subtle and I did just come back to atmosphere for like a game where you're mostly just in one environment and you're going through others. It's so atmospheric and it's just you in that machine against the world, it seems. And it's a simple task of stop the vehicle, get whatever you can get on the road for fuel, use that, deploy the steam, brake where you need to. It's not terribly complex, but it's just you against the world, and I thought it was incredibly atmospheric for that.
Sean, the ending really reminded me of a movie.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to bleep it because I don't want to spoil it for people, but it really reminded me of.
Okay.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Exactly. Right, what's it up against? This is up against. Oh, I've ripped the.
What's happened?
On Rush.
Oh shit.
On Rush. So, On Rush is quite a frustrating game to talk about because in my head it should be massive. And I remember talking about this at the time of launch and saying that it really reminded me of Titanfall because I'd played at Titanfall, and my argument was that when I first played Titanfall, I got it instantly. I understood why it was fun, what it wanted me to do, and why this was so good to play. I understood the game mechanics; it just felt perfect, and it sort of spoke to me. And when I played On Rush, it was exactly the same. I was like, "This is just unbelievably good." And it also reminds me of Titanfall because look at what happened to Titanfall 2. It came out. No one responded to it. It dropped in value and seemed to be a failed project. This game is currently free on PlayStation Plus. If you've not played it, play it. What On Rush is it's not a racing game. You look at the videos of it or whatever, it looks like a racing game. It's not a racing game. It's a driving game. And it's a driving combat game. Think Burnout takedown mode, but on a continuous loop, and it doesn't stop. And that's what this game is. There's no laps, there's no speed runs, nothing like that. It's all about 6-on-6 battles, where you have to. There's so many different game modes, and they're all so brilliant. Like the first one we ever played together was the gate one, where there's these gates, and you've got each team. You split into 2 teams of 6. Each team has got 30 seconds or whatever it is that is continuously counting down. Every time you go for a gate, you add a few seconds to your team's time, and of course, if you get wiped out, you're not able to contribute to your team's time. So you've got to keep topping it up, and the team that manages to top theirs up faster than the other team wins. There's a game mode that's like King of the Hill, where there's this massive, great big circle. quite far ahead on the track. You've got to get in there and stay in there for 5 seconds. The more people, so if there's 3 of one team and 2 of the other, then the one with the three of one team, that it counts towards them. If it's even, then it's a deadlock and you have to wait for someone to get wiped out or get back in. There's Switch, Matt, which I think was your favourite.
That was the one. Hang on, so that was the one where you start off.
You start as a bike,
and you basically as you get destroyed, you then go into the next vehicle. I think it's like 7 or 8 vehicles in the end. But what's great about that is that, and basically once you're in the last vehicle, you run out of lives and you can't add to the score of your team. Is that how it worked?
No, once you're dead, right? So basically, you've all got lives, and once you're out of lives, you're still in the game as one of the heavy hitter vehicles, but you're out of lives, so your team needs to have a number of lives to stay in the game. So you don't count towards that total of lives left for your team, but you still get the opportunity to try and take lives off of the other team, even though you're technically out of the game. It was just genius. It was brilliant. On top of that, the style of it, like the music, the visuals, I thought, all right, it wasn't the best looking game ever, but I still thought it looked stunning with the amount of carnage that was going on the screen. The different classes of vehicles. So, people were comparing it to Overwatch, and it certainly takes ideas from other games. But you've got like a sort of overdrive mode, or an onrush mode, what they call, where you build up your sort of meter, and then you get a special ability, and that can be anything from leaving a trail of like slippable surface behind you to leaving these barriers or smoke screening the players behind you, all sorts of stuff like that. One of them turns you into Tron, where you leave like this wall just like right behind you. You can just cut in front of people and wipe them out. It was so good that it actually leaves me quite angry that it didn't take off. I'm hoping that PS Plus has sort of given it a new lease of life, and you can get full games, because that's the only reason why I stopped playing it. Because every time I would log in, all you'd have is a team of bots to play against, and it just was nowhere near as fun. So yeah, arcadey, wonderful driving that was so unique compared to anything else that's come out before it, and it nailed it. Like, the game modes were fun. It was just brilliant to play. I mean, I put 40 to 50 hours into it, and I loved every minute of it. Absolutely loved it. Unlocking characters and clothes and dances and stuff like that. It was all good.
Yeah, I thought it was also excellent. I guess what killed it is just the lack of other people also super engaged in it.
Yep.
But yeah, it
lacked the community.
Yeah, it really did, and unfortunately, it sort of did it in from there on in, really, because all the races and sort of the battles and stuff we played were brilliant fun. All the modes were great. It was really high intensity. It's just a really fun racing / battle game, however you want to describe it. I think one of the things that sort of went against it is that if you look at it, it looks like. You look at it and you think, I know the measure of that game. It's a racing game, and maybe there's weapons or this. It's not great to look at. It's only when you play it you think, I understand now. It's not a racing game. It's not what it might look like. It's actually this, and there's more levels of sort of tactics you can do, and so on and so forth. It's particularly in that Switch mode. And yeah, unfortunately, it didn't catch fire. Like, after playing the first few races, and after playing it at Res, I really thought it would, but. Yeah, but it's still an excellent game. I think if it's on PS Plus, as you said, it's on Game Pass, I believe. I think if you and a bunch of mates get into it, you have plenty of hours of great fun in this game.
I'm going to play it tomorrow. Actually, I'm going to check it out on the PlayStation, see if it's got a scene. But yeah, I mean, doing a barrel roll into the circle that you're supposed to try and get into while landing on an enemy's head and blowing them up.
Yeah, brilliant.
Oh my God, does that feel good? Oh my God. Like, that feeling of just absolutely mugging someone off in the most stylish way possible. Very good game. But we got a vote. Far Long Sales versus Onrush. What are we going with?
I mean, I'm going to go for Far, obviously.
I'm going Onrush.
Right.
I'm going to go for Far as well.
Me too, actually. And I guess that surprised me after not knowing about the game last week, but really enjoyed.
I'm properly chuffed with that. Like, regardless of what happens to it in the next round, like I said, I brought it up as a bit of a punt, and yeah, I'm really glad you've all enjoyed it. So, chuffed.
Thank you.
I'm okay with that.
Chen,
I love on Rush. I think some.
Chen knew where the game had come from, Sean, because I was sitting there playing it, and she sat next to me. She looked at it and she said, "Is that an indie game?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then she said, "Did Sean recommend that?" I said, "Yeah." But yeah,
I loved on Rush, but I really liked Far Lone Sales as well. So I'm happy for that to take its place.
Cheers.
It's not bumming me out too much. Good shout, Sean.
I've got to say, I mean, after Sean suggested it, I got in contact with the devs and the dev kindly sent us some codes so we can all play it, and I really appreciate it. But thank you, Sean, for suggesting it, because
that's right. I mean, it's worked out quite well, because if I had just talked about it on the show when I played it, it'd have just been like, yeah, all right, whatever, fucking PC game. But it's all sort of.
But you've essentially forced us to play this game.
Yeah, pretty much.
We can have
It wasn't intentional, but
it.
Worked out all right.
All right, next one. Yakuza 6, The Song of Life.
Nice.
oh.
okay. James, this is your
you
game.
Just go if you want, James. It's all
Well,
right.
because the thing is, right, this is a really difficult one to talk about, because I know how you all feel about the series. So there's like, I mean, it's generally
I'm
like,
still sort of on the fence, but hopeful.
Sean.
oh, yeah, you're on the fence with hopeful. Matt doesn't care, and Sean just hates it.
You played it for
David just hates
played
it. It's,
You played a Yakuza game for an hour. That was it.
And it was good.
It is good.
Yeah, all right.
But you see, the other problem about this is it's not even the best game in the series, like, because it really isn't. And I know this will sound like I'm selling it badly, but for me, this was still a special game. Well, no, it's still a special game anyway, because there are moments in this game that I still feel are probably better than in even in Yakuza 0. Mostly because, I mean, the whole theme of this game is about legacy and family, and for me, it really kind of like struck a chord. Particularly because there's this idea of like trying to reach younger people and trying to sort of like impart like not wisdom but sort of your experience to them, but then it doesn't really work out, and then you still have to sort of pile in and kind of like fix things. And I don't know. I mean, the other thing that I was really pleased about with this is the way that it really opens up into different sort of locations in Japan that you get to go to. And there's a completely different vibe than in the other games. I mean, in the other games, they're mostly sort of focused around Tokyo, and here you go to like Osaka and to other locations which have a more sort of like countryside feel. Mm-hmm. And there's just a different atmosphere, and I really enjoyed that. I mean, the combat, which I know David doesn't like, is like really refined by this point, and even though one of the things that I thought was also impressive with this is the way that like Kiryu is like really slowed down with age, because at this point he's quite old, but you still can sort of like get yourself pumped up, and you can still sort of engage in the fighting. And it doesn't, I mean, this didn't even matter much, because the story just felt so much more focused than in most of the other Yakuza games that I've played. And like, bearing in mind that I've played a lot of them in like the last 2 years or so, I mean, there does seem to be one that comes out like every couple of months or whatever. And this is one that still has sort of stuck with me. I mean, although the conclusion isn't what people have hoped for, I still feel it had resonance, because it's this idea that, even though you're simply you're sort of something important in this world, you still have to step away at some point, and there is a time to sort of say goodbye. And I felt that it did manage to sort of nail that. And so many of the characters that they introduced in this, like, because the writing I felt was so good, even though they'd only just been introduced, I still felt by the end of the game they're some of the most memorable ones. And that's where I feel the strength of this game was in this. There's less to do. I mean, there's absolutely less sort of like messing around to do, but the core focus of the story I felt was much more interesting than particularly in like Yakuza 2 that I played recently. But I know this is a really hard sell, because I know that none of you are really particularly interested in this kind of game, but this one did mean something to me, mostly because of this idea of like growing up and the fact that you're sort of trying to impart something to somebody else. And I always feel like I'm doing that at the moment with my own children. So yeah, this meant a lot to me. I enjoyed this game.
Because this one finishes Kiryu's story, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Well, It looks like it does, yeah.
Okay. It's just because I can understand, like, because when did the first Yakuza game come out? It's 15 years ago, something like that?
Yeah.
And to bring something like that to a close, like, and to, like, as a player to sort of feel the weight of all those years coming to a conclusion, like, must be huge. So I get it.
And I think what a lot of people didn't like was the fact that they didn't really go. With this, they don't really go back to all the people that there's been in the previous games that much, and they introduce all these new ones. But I think that's because that would have felt really played out, like, by that point, because you've done this so many times before. And I mean, in Yakuza 5, which I haven't played, I know that this focuses on, like, a bunch of different characters as well that you can, like, play as. Whereas this one is much more just straight down the line. This is Kiryu's story, and this is how it kind of ends. Yeah. And I enjoyed that. I really did. It's still a special game. I enjoyed it much more than the other remakes that have just come out.
James, do you think they're sort of cheapening the series by releasing so many games in such a short space of time? I know, obviously, they've found a process to which to get it out super quick, and if they do that, they might as well do it because they can sell more, make more money. But it feels like, I mean, I haven't played the series, but there's been so many in such a short space of time.
Yeah, but a lot of them have been
they're all re-releases. I mean, 6 was the only one, and 0 obviously were the only 2 that have come out that are new experiences. The rest are all just been remakes. I mean, I've been happy with the way they've come out, because this was a series that I didn't have anything like to do with really until Yakuza 0 came out, and then I've discovered it's one of my favourites ever. And that's why it's been really good that they've come out at this rate. I mean, I'm still just really hoping that they're going to release like 3, 4, and 5 as well. Like that, eventually they'll come out on PS4, and apparently they're going to. But I don't think it cheapens it, because for a lot of people like me, it's just been good to know that it's getting support and that people are enjoying it, and that it's that there's more coming out.
Really?
Fuck off, David. Fuck off.
What's he going up against? Let's find out.
If it's Detroit, this is rigged.
Detroit, Become Human.
You are joking, right?
Nope, that's the one that I've got in my hand. I swear to God.
Fucking rigged,
I swear to God.
This is rigged. This is
absolutely not
rigged.
Absolutely not. And there's no way that I would rig this thing. I swear to you, James.
This is rigged.
Why would I put up Red Dead Redemption against Yoku's Island?
No, he's not saying you rigged that one, saying you rigged this one.
Oh, fuck off. No, there's no way. All I can say is that I could swear to you I am not rigging any of this. That's the one that's come out, Detroit Become Human, which is James's game. I know why James is so upset, because now he's got to choose between 1 and 2, like one of his kids. You know what I mean? It's 2 choices.
His 2 most loved games of the year.
Yeah.
So James, go for it. Let's hear this wild plan that you've got.
Let's hear this crafted description of this game.
It's not a wild plan. I mean, I just okay. So when I think about what to select for Game of the Year, I always have to consider like what games I felt a connection with. And you see, okay, with the exception of Nomad Soul, I've played all of the games like released by Quantic Dream, and all of them I feel have had one thing in common. And that's the desire to like connect with people on an emotional level. So with Detroit, David Cage has certainly managed to achieve this. Like for me, like absolutely, I've had an emotional connection with this game. It's been a strong emotional reaction, like especially like during my playthrough. But I mean, having quite recently played Detroit, I was really struck by how committed Quantic Dream seemed to be to delivering like a specific experience. And this experience hasn't changed since Fahrenheit. And despite and despite the significant evolution in design brought about by other adventure games like Walking Dead and Life is Strange and stuff, Quantic Dream have doggedly stuck to their vision, ignoring innovation and staying true to the design principles that they successfully introduced in 2005.
Good, you can tell he's reading this from a thing, can't you?
This all sounded better.
He's never used the word doggedly ever for the
But the thing is, I mean, you've got to
in the beginning.
Shut the fuck up and let me just get on with this, right? Did I interrupt you every single time when you're talking?
Yeah, but I didn't make a mockery of the whole fucking process,
I'm not making a mockery of this. I'm talking about the emotional connection that I've had with this game.
There's no point like leading us on. We know what the payoff is going to be. You don't like it.
The punchline is I don't like it.
I haven't said that. I absolutely have not said that. I mean, do you want me to continue or not? Am I going to continue?
Yes, please.
I don't think I want to anymore. This is absurd. I mean, what?
Oh, fuck off, James. Just read your little script out.
All right. So
that didn't take much convincing.
Okay, I will.
God.
Okay, so to create an emotional connection with the player, the three characters of Detroit go on a journey in which they may not evolve as characters, but during which player decisions at least create more dramatic moments. These moments are totally successful at achieving immersion if the player completely ignores the context within which they occur and the logical development of the plot. Fortunately, it's easy to do this because of how amazing the game looks. Like a Christmas tree bauble, distracting attention away from the rotting tree upon which it is hung. The graphics in Detroit, particularly the facial animation, are exceptional and provide a wonderful and engaging distraction. This distraction doesn't entirely last, as when I first played through the game, I did notice that the characters didn't move entirely convincingly. The movement is kind of robotic, but then I realised that this is because they are androids. Why then do the humans act and move in the same way? Obviously, this is...
See, if you're going for...
I'm not finished yet.
Being
just
positive, but little sly digs, you lost it there.
Let me finish.
Just let me finish.
Can you just shut the fuck up and let me finish? Okay. Why then do the humans act and move in the same way? Obviously, this is because David Cage is trying to make the point that androids and humans really aren't so different to each other, at least in terms of animation, but also acting quality and scripting. Some may say that the story is hackneyed and cliched, that the child in peril stuff is poorly framed, and the villain is such a cartoon one with such a wooden performance that it's hard to take it seriously. But this is only a problem for a player who ignores context and logical plot development and fails to immerse themselves. Fails to immerse themselves in the world that David Cage has built. David Cage is often accused of obliterating...
Or the one that Rockstar built as well, by the sound.
Hey, it's not about that.
Can I finish? This is my last
James,
paragraph.
Okay?
Mate, I was joking with you. I was on your side then. I weren't having a go at you. I was having a go at Matt. Chill out.
David Cage is also often accused of obliterating any sense of subtlety from his games through heavy-handed use of symbolism. I would like to put forward a counterpoint to this. He's just making sure that everyone understands his artistic vision. He's trying to connect with the player, and like it or not, Detroit certainly stirred emotions in me. These emotions may not have been the ones that were intended by Quantic Dreams, but they were powerful, and for that reason I feel they succeeded, and Detroit deserves to be nominated for Game of the Year. Done.
Here's Sean.
Mm.
You know that guy that stood up at the what was it, the Diablo thing, and said, "Is this some sort of April Fool's joke?"
Yeah.
James is on a par with him after that.
Whatever.
Like, I mean, that is one of the most pathetic, petty, like snarky horse shit I've ever heard.
Well, what
is
else
the
do you want me to say? I mean, the thing is right? Is
this the reason why you literally gave up a game that you love to nominate this?
Because I wanted wanted to highlight what a fucking joke it would have been to have this game in the Game of the Year list. It's absurd.
I might not have selected it.
Absolute bullshit, Matt. There is no way that you wouldn't have chosen it.
I was saying,
and if you
just
didn't
like
choose
before,
it,
like, I've
if you
so
didn't
many...
fucking choose
James,
it,
then
the listeners would have done.
You're going to let me finish. You're going to let me finish.
No, you didn't let me finish.
I did let you finish 3 times out of your little written script.
You did not. You talked over me the whole time.
No, I let you read your little story
and all that kind of thing. Fuck off.
Okay, stop. Matt, can you just explain why you like the game?
Yeah, well, because I was genuinely emotionally affected by this game, and I've said in the past it was obviously it's that car story. You know, it was a child in peril. We've been on this before. You know, that's my kryptonite. Any game with that in, I'm basically a mess, crying on the floor. But also, I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. I think the decisions you make in each of the scenes, there are tons of different variables for loads of the scenes, and I think that sort of goes unmentioned as something that I think improved over their other games. I mean, you see that flowchart at the end of each scene. You maybe didn't even need to see that, but I liked the fact you did, and it showed there are tons of different options within each of these scenes where things can go right or go left, and that changes, you know, whole scenes you might see. I thought that was really, really well done. I thought graphically it looks really good. I thought the acting was really good. I actually really liked all the 3 characters, and even like the sort of characters alongside the 3 main ones. But James, I mean, I've played a lot of very good games this year, and I know like the meme running up to this is like, oh, Matt's going to keep it, let's go include it as games of the year. In like the weeks leading up to this, I'm like, I don't know if I want to keep this joke
That's
running.
absolute bullshit because that's
No.
why you chose Guacamelee 2, which you were quite happy to pass up at the end because you were forced into choosing that, Matt.
It's not about Guacamelee. We're talking about Detroit. And I was like, I played so many good games. Like, am I really going to like pass up one of those fantastic games? And there have been lots of very good games this year. Am I really going to pass up for this joke because I actually enjoyed Detroit?
So you admit that it's not very good, then, yeah?
No, James. It's very easy.
You just said it's a joke.
No, I meant the joke of me like selecting this above other incredible games this year. I'm not saying this isn't an incredible game, but did I enjoy it? Absolutely. And I think it's very possible to enjoy deeply flawed products. I mean, like, I'm sure loads of us like an embarrassing album or watch a film, even though we know the film's not great, or we read a book because it gives us comfort.
To enjoy
Are you
those
let me finish,
games,
James? Are you going to let me finish?
No, I'm not. No, again, I'm not going to let you finish. Well, like you did. It's
you just said that.
Well, I'm having to repeat myself, aren't I? Because you're doing it again. I mean, you can absolutely enjoy it like this stuff, but you don't nominate it for Game of the Year.
I didn't. You did, you idiot.
I know I did, because to stop you doing it, because you were definitely going to do it. Because there's no way you wouldn't have done it.
It just got done.
That makes no sense.
You just got done, James. But you don't nominate it for Game of the Year. You did.
Yeah.
It's great because we can never truly know whether Matt was going to put it in or
if
not.
he hadn't done it, the listeners would have done.
Well, we never know that, James, because you chose it as one of your games of the year for 2018.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so is that it? Are we done?
The thing I'm sick of, right, is like, just because I like this, it's like, Matt doesn't really have an opinion on it because he likes the game and the game's shit. It's all shit. Like,
you do write him off a bit, James.
Yeah, I didn't say that he's. No, I didn't say that. You haven't got an opinion and all that kind of thing. I just said your opinion's ridiculous. It's like absolutely ridiculous.
James, you also said that it wasn't a terrible game.
It isn't a terrible game, and this is the point. It's just a very, very average, dull game.
So why do you get so angry?
Yeah, why are you so emotional about the game just because I like it and you think it's average?
I got annoyed because of the fact that Matt had a go at me for it, for saying, you're just being negative about it, just because it's a David Cage game.
Like, I hated Detroit. Hated it.
You didn't hate it, did you?
Yes, I hated it. I thought it was awful, right? And I said that on the show, and I'm not mad at Matt for liking it.
No, I'm not mad at Matt for liking it. I'm mad at Matt for having a go at me for it. That's the only reason.
Yeah, Matt didn't accuse Dave of being like biased against David Cage.
That's true.
No, but Dave doesn't have like huge monologues about David Cage this and David Cage that, and it's just, I don't know. Anyway,
he doesn't have to.
I didn't focus on. Have you Dave? No, you haven't.
What? I've played Fahrenheit, yeah.
Oh, you have played? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was okay at the start, and then it was terrible by the end.
Yeah.
Heavy Rain's the best game that he's done, and James didn't even like that.
Yeah,
it was all right.
I think James' sort of perceived bias is simply just him being worn down by playing a series of mediocre games.
Yeah,
personally.
That's the thing. They're just desperately mediocre, like those games. Yeah. It's
no, they're not.
No, you
Beyond
can't.
Two Souls, definitely.
That was the one that broke me, David. Was Beyond Two Souls because
that was so bad.
I never played Beyond Two Souls, but I really enjoyed Heavy Rain at the time. Didn't play. I played like a tiny bit of Fahrenheit, But yeah, but after playing this, I'm actually quite interested in whatever the next game is. I think there are improvements here he's made to how the games function, in terms of the characters, in terms of all the various threads of a scene and how those can interweave with other scenes. I thought the story was good. It's short. It's a pulpy sci-fi, B movie thing, but as a game, as an enjoyable experience, I thought it is really well done. Yes. Yeah, I know you can say the writing isn't great. Yes, he doesn't do great with
it's just a joke,
certain political stuff, but it's still enjoyable. And I'm really glad I played this game this year. It's actually, no word of a lie, definitely one of the most emotionally affecting games this year for me.
So why wasn't it on your Game of the Year?
Because you chose it before I had a chance to.
But it would have been in the queue,
James.
I mean, from the way you're talking about it, it would have been on your list.
We'll never know because you chose it. You stole it from me, and you stole it from the audience, James. Just because you had like a 10-minute embarrassing monologue about how much you hated the game and you used the word doggedly in it.
Nothing wrong with that, Matt. Nothing wrong with that.
I can't wait to listen back to that. Fucking embarrassing, James. We get it. You don't like it.
I must admit, Matt, it is quite exciting that we're actually going to be included in those cringe compilations that you see on YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube Rewind 2019. It's just going to be that.
James, I know this is hard for you, mate, but which one of your choices are you going to vote for?
I mean, should we just wave through Detroit now? Because that's what you're all going to do. I mean,
we'll wait for the vote, James. We'll see.
Let's find out.
See, obviously, I'm going to vote for Yakuza 6 because it meant something to me. But obviously, your guys are all going to vote for Detroit, so go on, get on with it.
Matt?
Well, I'm definitely going to vote for Detroit.
Sean?
No, don't. No, you go next.
No, like both of you, right, before you say anything, come on, just think, like, Dave, I don't think you hated this game, did you? What do you think about Yakuza?
I hated it. Well, I never played it. I mean, I certainly enjoyed, as much as I didn't get on with Yakuza, I certainly enjoyed the time that I spent with that more than I did Detroit. And now I'm not talking about Yakuza 6 because I never played that. I played Yakuza 0. But the time I played with Yakuza 0 was far more enjoyable than Detroit. I mean, without a doubt.
Right. So let's face it, whatever gets through out of the two of these doesn't really matter because they're not going to make it through the next round.
It's true.
I think Dave is going to say Detroit because I think he's annoyed at James for this little ploy of his not really panning out.
It's
Sean,
rubbish.
Sean, don't judge me like that. Like, don't think you know me. I'm voting for Detroit. Yeah, you're right. Okay. I'm voting for Detroit. Yeah, I'm voting for that one because fuck you, James. Remember the Titanfall thing?
Do you know, I'm going to remember this when we come to the next round. Just you all remember that.
Well, you got a great memory there by James.
James, this is not a vote against you. This is purely so we can fucking move on. Detroit.
Yes, there we go.
Yakuza 6 is gone.
Oh, I'll be yours, James. Great plan there.
How predictable.
Great fucking plan, you idiot.
I don't care if it goes through, then it's just because, I nominated it.
Keep going through, James.
That's fine.
No, to be clear, if Detroit ends up winning, you're going to be missing another host next year. That's not happening.
Oh, brilliant!
I'm sure Gary Dutton will fill your spot.
Oh, Gary Dutton, he'd be a very happy boy
he was
right now.
A fan of Detroit, wasn't he?
I can already see the angry thread of 15 tweets from Gary Dutton.
Mate, do you know what's great? I don't have to be here for feedback.
I don't want to be here for feedback.
You can just set the bomb off and just walk away.
That was the plan, James, was it? That was what you did last week.
There's absolutely no plan. My only plan.
But you were saying
my only plan was to get that noise out of you, Matt, which I did get, and that I was satisfied with that.
No, you were giving it that I'm taking back control.
Yeah, I managed to explain the situation here, and then Matt just restated the same thing again. Listen, Dave, this is what would have happened, right? If I hadn't have chosen Detroit, Matt would have chosen Detroit. If he hadn't have done, which he definitely would have done,
we'll never know.
Then the listeners would have done. Then we still would have had the same ridiculous argument that we've already had about how it's not a very good game.
But think about this, James.
I know.
If Matt had chosen Detroit,
then we could have
probably
voted
would have voted for it.
I know, it's fine. I just didn't want to give... I just didn't want to give...
Past week, James, the past week, you've literally been Brexit. You thought you had a plan, you were trying to take back control, and now it's all fucked. Well done, mate.
Either way, the game that I've chosen has got through to the next round, so it's fine.
Oh, you're going to take the credit now?
Well, yeah, I mean, you voted through, Matt. I mean, you must...
Next one out of the hat is Dead Cells Listener's Choice. Now, I haven't played this. James, you probably put the most... Well, I did play. I played it for like 20 minutes. And I've really fucking enjoyed what I played of it. But, James, you've spent the most time with it, so I'm keen to hear
I played
why
about
this should be on the list.
Maybe 8 to 9 hours of this. I mean, I have to admit, I did stop when it became apparent that I didn't think I was ever going to finish the game because it does get ridiculously hard, but it is still very enjoyable. I mean, see on my list, this was actually my backup choice. I was going to go for this one because I couldn't choose Hollow Knight, and Hollow Knight was the game that I really, really wanted on this list, but we couldn't make it happen. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't really know what to say about this apart from the fact that nowadays there are so many of these Metroidvania games around. But this one really does stick out because of the fact that it's so, it's the roguelike element where, every time you play it is kind of different. But I don't know, I don't really know much else to say, because it's a good, very solid game, but I just found it a bit too difficult. I mean, Dave, what did you think of it when you did play it?
Yeah, I thought it was good, but I mean, I've played it for half an hour.
Yeah.
Like, I loved how it looked, I loved how it played, but I didn't put enough time in it. I'll be honest with you, you're letting the listeners down.
I know,
now.
I know, but I don't really have much. I mean, the reason I didn't nominate this is because I didn't really have a huge amount to say about it, because whilst it is very good, I didn't think it was anywhere near as good as like Hollow Knight was. Like, I didn't connect.
So
with
it's
it in that
like
way.
it's like a roguelike. Is it roguelike? No, what they call it when it's
roguelike.
Yeah, it's a roguelike Metroidvania
it's
style
like a
thing, isn't
roguelike
it?
game, a Metroidvania type thing. I mean, at least talk about the game.
Well,
You just said, yeah, I liked it, but it's really hard.
But that's it. I mean, it's the fact that, okay, so...
Mate, honestly, you're going to get absolutely hammered in the feedback. Like, why?
I mean,
I'm already going to get hammered in the
yourself.
should
feedback.
the listeners
yourself.
have considered whether or not we'd actually played the games they were voting for? Because we're...
Honestly, Sean, it blows my mind that every year it happens. Into the Breach, they were saying, Into the Breach. No one's fucking...
none of us have
what do you
played it. How are
think
we
was
gonna
going to
defend
happen?
it?
I played Into the Breach. I was just really shite at it, so I tapped out pretty quickly. I'm very aware that it's
I
brilliant.
saw it. I was
just,
like, I should play the listener's choice game this year. And I looked up Into the Breach because it looked like that was going to win. And I was like, nope. No way. Is that it? Is that all you want to put forward for Dead Cells?
Well, no, I mean, the weapon systems, the way that they work is very good. I mean, you pick up, like, the, upgrades as you go through. And some of them you can, you stick with as the game goes on. Some of them, they just, they expire, like, through each playthrough. I mean, the whole point is to collect these cells so then you can upgrade your character so you can get, like, a bit further through. I mean, the only thing that the thing is, I've only got negative things to say about it, because I just...
Why?
because I didn't enjoy it as much as, like,
No,
other
but
games
when I
I've
sat
played,
next to you and we were playing it at EGX, you were saying really good things about it, like the risk-reward stuff, the weapon stuff. Like, you were praising it to me. Like, I don't understand why now suddenly you're like, nah.
I think it's just because I got the difficulty was the thing that just irritated me by the end, and the fact that I began to feel like I was never going to finish it because of that. And
It's mad.
yeah, I just didn't enjoy it as much as I did Hollow Knight.
Well, honestly,
it just wasn't as good.
At Computer Game Pod on Twitter.
I know, we'll go. Just go.
I mean,
get on
he's
with
supposed
it.
to be.
Fine.
And maybe next year, listen to what Sean plays and nominate one of his ones, because he'd really get behind you. I mean, it's unfortunate that you God of War. It's up against God of War. James, this was your one.
This was my one. Yeah, I mean, why all of these are coming out? It's really annoying. But anyway,
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. Like, honestly, right, I will say this about our list this year. The amount of times I was like, if that goes up against that'll be really bad. If that goes up against that, oh, holy fuck. Because I'm really passionate about my 4 games, but I'm also really passionate about games that you've all suggested as well. So it's kind of like, it's one of those years where, as we've said, last year, it was a bit frustrating because 2 games were standout. You know what I mean? Like, they were head and shoulders above the rest. Mario and Zelda. This year, alright, there isn't like this big standout game. Well, there kind of is, but they're all like pretty evenly matched, I think. So, Anyway, God of War. James.
yeah, I mean, this is a weird game for me, because I was not actually anticipating this at all, because I've never played any of the earlier games in the series, and I just wasn't pumped for it. I just didn't see the sort of the attraction, but it did end up being one of my favourite games this year. I mean, for a number of like reasons. I mean, mostly, I found the story, particularly the pacing, was really excellent. But it was the relationship between Kratos and Boy that I really found really great. Well, he's Boy, isn't he? That's what he calls him the whole time. And it's like, especially that whole, the focus on like the approval, like the way that the boy is trying to get approval all the time from Kratos for what he's doing, and then you get like the teenage like sort of sulk like sort of period, and it just really like felt just really well observed, like compared with like experiences that I've had. But also, I mean, the game is just so well balanced, and it's similar to Astro Bot in the sense of it's still got that same like level of like polish that you would expect from like a Nintendo game. Like, I felt it was just, I don't know, particularly because of the checkpointing, I never felt angry or annoyed with the way the game, with the challenge from the game at all, and it just felt really really sort of well realised. And in a sense, it was, I mean, this was one of the things that I felt it had in common with Spider-Man as well. Because, I mean, Matt will probably talk about Spider-Man later, but it was the same with that. It's just so player-friendly. And that's something that I feel that all of the Sony games that came out this year really had in common. And God of War was like the first of these that came out and sort of felt like that. And I just loved the tone of the ending as well. I mean, I felt more respect for the game, you know, by the end of it than I had at the beginning, largely because of the way they seemed to have this conviction to the way that they finished it was exactly how I was hoping it would finish, rather than with this sort of, you know, like big sort of world ending kind of stuff. And I was also just constantly astonished by how good it looked. I mean, this is the first game that made me feel that like buying a 4K HDR TV was worth it, because it just looks kind of astonishing, and just the level of polish was fantastic. It was a very special game, and also like all the obviously the upgrade paths, and you know, for modding weapons and stuff like that.
I was going to say the thing that stunned me was like how it handled how complicated all that stuff got by just drip feeding everything throughout the game, you know. And I think ultimately it didn't really matter how you upgraded. It didn't really focus on builds and stuff, did it? But the systems were complicated, but never felt complicated because they'd been slowly introduced. And it also meant that you could spend, over the course of the game, it felt like it was always introducing something new. So it kept things fresh. Especially with, you know, additional weapons that appear later. It really sort of changes the whole feeling of the game.
There's like a whole dynamic change, isn't there? Like towards, you know, probably about 2/3 of the way
it's crazy.
through.
I think in terms of like a whole package, this is just a stunning piece of work. I mean, I also had never played a previous God of War game. I had obviously seen them, I knew of them, but even seeing screenshots and hearing what they're about, they didn't interest me in the slightest. But I've seen reviews and seen people ridiculously pumped for this. I got it, and it's an absolute stunner. From the graphics, which I think you're totally right, James. I've seen tons of amazing games on my TV, but this was like a wow moment in terms of wow. This is, you can really tell, you know, the love and passion that's going into this game. Like everything looks stunning. You know, the detail on the weapons to, you know, the graphics of the actual character models. As a looker, this is up there with the best, if not the best looking game I think this year. It's absolutely stunning. And writing, I was really super impressed with as well. I know, you know, having not played a God of War game before, I assume Kratos was a pretty like one-note character. He, particularly in his relationship with Boy, I thought that brought up loads of really fantastic moments. Even like the little things like telling stories when you're on the boat together. I thought that was a really, really fantastic relationship. The boy himself, early doors, I was like, oh god, he's just one of those annoying, you know, child characters in the game. But actually, the way it was written, it sort of made sense that he would be that way. And I thought again, that actually took me by surprise. I was like, okay, he's one of the idiot child characters. You know, it's like everyone's going to complain. And then when things happen in the story, you're like, oh, that's why, and now that makes sense, and that's really surprised me, actually.
See, that's the thing, because like the way that he is, like even like the moodiness and everything, it's like it's completely understandable.
Yeah,
like,
it really is. It's not just like he's the annoying child character. He's like that for a reason.
Yeah.
I think it's. Yeah. I mean,
it's so well written.
I've not played the game, so I'm only basing this off like
really?
things. Yeah, no, my brother lent it me ages ago, and having been sort of kind of underwhelmed by the PS4 Pro, I'm aware that this is one I should really check out because.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, just from what people have said, I think it's just a really amazing achievement. So taking Kratos from God of Wars 1 to 3, as you say, incredibly one note, just really angry, wants to kill or shag everything in his path. You know, still really good games, but a little bit embarrassing in some ways in hindsight. But the fact that this sort of reflects like an ongoing real life change in sort of definitions of masculinity, and that it seems to sort of like it incorporates the fact that like men are learning to nurture alongside, that's sort of being incorporated into what people now perceive as like a modern definition of masculinity. And I think it's really interesting that they've picked up on that and they've used it. And it's not just a reboot. It's not like, oh, this is a new Kratos. It's like, no, it's the same guy. He's just he's developing for the first time in, since however long it's been since God of War 1 came out. And I don't know if that's completely off the mark or what, but that's just based off what I've heard about the game. But I think that's pretty remarkable in and of itself.
Cool. But which way are we voting? Let's go with Matt first.
I'm going to God of War.
God of War. Sean?
Fuck. I don't know, because they both
You've not
seem...
played either?
I've not played either, but they both seem right up my street.
Yeah, I'm really surprised you haven't played Dead Cells. That does seem ridiculously up your street.
Well,
and I think when you play God of War,
I was torn
you'll
between.
love that as well.
I was going to buy Dead Cells, and I was like, oh, everyone's getting on at me to buy Undertale. I should buy that, and now look where we are. Fuck. I'm going to say God of War.
Oh, you're an idiot. All right.
Well, am I? I don't know.
You are. Sean, you are.
Well, why is he an idiot for that?
Because he's got no horse in this race, so just go with the listeners.
Well,
that's
why? He's a good...
Do you know what I mean? Because to avoid abuse.
I think when he plays both, and hopefully he does over Christmas or in the coming months, he'll. I think this is the decision that he'll think. Okay, that was the right decision.
No, yeah, I know. I'm sure. I think he will. But when you're in that situation, just to you've got a path where you're going to get shit from the listeners on Twitter, and you've got a path where you're not. And he's taken the wrong path on that one. Why didn't you? You've not played either of them. You'd love it. All that sort of shit. Yeah. I'm voting for God of War because I played God of War and I've barely played Dead Cells, and God of War was fucking brilliant. James?
Despite my stunning defence of the other one, I'm going to have to go for God of War. I can't
remember what it's fucking called.
Yeah, the other one.
The other one. Are you sure you don't want to go with the will of the people on this? I think I should go with the will of the people.
Not in this case, no. I mean, come on, I'm already good. I'm already burned down, aren't I, for the feedback, so it's fine.
It's a landslide victory.
Well, mate, I must admit, none of us are doing ourselves favours this year. We're going to get so much shit.
What are we talking about? But yeah, Sean, do you think you'll play God of War over Christmas?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think the only thing that's putting me off, but I'm aware it's not just like a typical Sony 9-hour experience, like it is like 30-40 hours, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's
it's
I
quite
can't
long.
remember how many hours,
but
it's a long
it's a good journey.
Yeah.
Which
it's fine. I'm sure it justifies that. It's a bigger commitment. That's all. So I've just not.
I've already opened the next game out of the hat.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Spider-Man.
No stopping, is there?
All right.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. Yes.
Spider-Man, and Spider-Man.
That's what Spider-Man can.
Yeah, there's a Spider-Man.
Are the words.
Yep. Go on.
Spider-Man on PS4. I thought was excellent. It's a game that actually made me care for Spider-Man for probably the first time ever. We've been over this countless times, but I'll go over it again. I'm not really into the Marvel stuff. Batman's alright, I know it's DC. Batman films are cool. I mean, mostly the Nolan trilogy, but generally this sort of stuff, it leaves me cold. Who really cares? I think I might have seen one of the Spider-Man films. I know the most recent anime one has been amazing.
I was going to say you're going to check that out because everyone's saying that is legitimately like the best Spider-Man film ever made.
Yeah, but and actually, this game I enjoyed so much that this actually makes me want to go and watch the movies. In fact, after finishing this, me and Jill watched one of the Avengers movies because it had Spider-Man in. This is a great game, and it made me excited for Spider-Man. Basically, it's a third-person action adventure game where you go around, there's loads of baddies to kill, there's a really fantastically written story with big sort of campaign missions, there's tons of side missions, but the star of the show, I mean, actually I think there's many stars, but the big one for me is the actual traversal, traversing the city of New York and Manhattan, and the sort of the location you're given. It just feels incredibly fun in a way I can't really describe. It's just amazing to traverse, the area that they were given. It's just really fun. At first, I felt it was a bit tricky, and I heard people saying, "Oh, the traversal's great. The swinging around around New York is amazing," and I wasn't quite getting it. And after about 20 minutes, it clicked, and I mean, the traversal's so fun. It made me suddenly want to like do collecting stuff in game, which
Do
again is something. Do the collectings, which is something again I've never really bothered with.
I wish this episode needed a title because that would be it.
do the collectings is definitely going to be.
Will definitely be it. Yeah, but I mean, I'm not someone who gets all collectibles in a game. But again, because that meant I could swing around. I was all over it. I collected all like 40 or backpacks. I did all the cat missions. I collected all the pigeons. I mean, there are so many collectibles in this game, and if you look at the map, you can filter the map and turn various like collectibles off. But you might be thinking, oh god, it's just so much. And I know other games have been sort of lambasted for all the collectibles, all the things on the map. And when you meet someone new and say, oh, now can you collect this, or now can you collect that? Some people might think, oh, for Christ's sake, no. But you will, I think, inevitably just collect everything because traversing and swinging around the city is just so amazingly fun. I think the writing is excellent. Again, I'm not a fan of movies. I don't really care for that stuff. But the relationships between Peter Parker and Spider-Man and Mary Jane and even Aunt May and also the enemies and the villains in the game are all excellent. I think they're really, really well written. I've really got to mention Yuri, who is your she's a cop who Spider-Man works with, and she basically relies on Spider-Man to do a lot of the heavy lifting, as it were. I thought she was excellent. A lot of the scenes you have with her is actually just over the police radio, but the relationship they've got is quite jovial, it's quite bantery. But I think that's written really well. And I love their relationship. But yeah, I think the cutscenes look brilliant. I don't do this often, but sometimes you might play a game, you might have your phone next to you, and maybe there's a cutscene. Sometimes you might open WhatsApp or might do something. I didn't really want to at all in this game. It was great to hear how well the characters were voice acted, but also I wanted to see the characters because the cutscenes I thought just delivered really, really well. Graphically, this game looks fantastic, but the cutscenes, I think the sort of the animation and the character models really, really shone through. The combat is
Matt. Can I just ask a quick question? It's interesting you said about opening WhatsApp during cutscenes and stuff. Did you do that with Red Dead?
No, I don't remember, but I wouldn't be surprised if I did. But I don't remember.
Fucking hell! Right.
I mean, not everyone, but I mean that was a massive game, and honestly, I wasn't as compelled as I was watching this. But I obviously watched Red Dead. Yeah, so stop like mocking me off just because I might have raced through the game. Doesn't mean I didn't pay attention as much as you.
You didn't know the cook.
I forgot the chef's name. Anyway, we're talking about Spider-Man, not that game. The combat. It's probably my least favourite part of the game. But there are like you can obviously upgrade both your abilities, but also special things you can do and gadgets to make the combat. I felt towards the end more enjoyable. Maybe that's because a lot of the gadgets and abilities meant it was less of a strenuous exercise. You could just like press a few buttons and you can kill more enemies because you had more sort of more attacks that meant you can take out the big ones with much less stress. But you can also use the swing in to swing in and out of the combat scenarios, which I think is pretty cool. You can basically swing across and take some people out. And anyway, I thought combat least important, at least impressive part of the game for me. But I still thought it was really, really good fun. But yeah, I was really surprised this game. I was sort of looking forward to it only because I'd heard people rave about the previous Spider-Man games. Again, I haven't played them. But as someone who doesn't really care for the character or anything about that, I was really impressed, and I thought it was an excellent game. It's a shame a lot of people seem to have sort of discounted it. Maybe it's because it's a superhero game or whatever. It's not really talked about in the way I thought it would be, and as much fun I had with it. It's a shame because I think it's excellent. It's not a 10. It's probably like a high 8 or low 9. I thought it was really, really good. And yeah, it's an excellent game. Oh, you played it as well, didn't you, James?
I have. I finished it over this weekend.
Awesome. Okay.
And yeah, I mean, I generally agree with you. The only thing
generally,
well, no, because the collecting stuff does get a bit much. Like it really does.
But you don't have to do that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You can. That's the plus point of this game because, as I said, like with God of War, it does allow you to sort of do whatever you want to a degree. Like, you don't have to like follow this. You can just do the main story. Even like I mean, you didn't talk about the puzzle stuff, but the puzzles, they also get a bit irritating and a bit sort of repetitive, but it doesn't matter because you can skip them if you want to, and the core like gameplay loop is still fantastic.
You can skip the puzzles.
So the puzzles,
if you want to,
basically you go to like, the lab at various points, and there's these puzzle things that the boss asks you to do, and they're basically 2D. Basically, there's like an electrical circuit on a screen, and you have to like, switch out these little blocks in the electrical circuit to complete the circuit. And it's like it's a totally different style of gameplay suddenly when it's like 2D puzzle system, which is weird. But they didn't offend me. And it was a nice little change of pace. But I know I can totally see why people would say it's a total bullshit. But I also I've obviously since learned that you can just ignore them completely. But they didn't bother me. Did they bother you, James? Or
they didn't bother me. No, I mean I was more fine with those than with the like the bases that you have to like clear out.
Yeah.
Where it's because those combat sequences really drag on
they do.
Like, for a significant amount of time.
I did tons of collectibles, tons of side missions, and as much as I could. But when it comes to point saying, okay, well, there's always like major bases across the city. Can you take them out? That was where I sort of stopped with the collecting because it was fun for a bit, but something could take like 20, 25 minutes. And as the combat was my least favorite part of the game, I couldn't really be asked for that. In all honesty, but. Sorry, James, you were saying.
But yeah, it was still excellent though. And I mean, I agree with what you say about the story. I found it quite affecting as well. It was, it was very good.
Yeah.
Should we check what it's up against? Let's find out. Celeste.
Ooh. Shit.
This is quite an interesting matchup.
For fuck's sake.
Who nominated this? It's Sean, yeah?
Sean nominated it, yeah.
Yeah. Celeste is a 2D platformer with pixel art. You may have seen similar games, but it's right. It's one of these ones. I thought it was quite hard, but a lot of people are like, oh, it's a hard game for people who don't really like hard games. I mean, fuck off. It's pretty tricky. It's not. What I found so unique about it is that it is a hard game that, like, it is a hard game, but it's just not a dick about it. Like, it's a hard game, but it's supportive and it wants you to succeed. Like, if you want, you can enable options that make the game loads easier, and there is zero judgment for doing that. And even just playing it how it was intended, it's like. The checkpointing's really generous. Like, it's all just like totally instant. You can just, there might be like one room you're struggling with, and it can be literally like every 3 seconds, just right, try again. And it's just, it's so, like, technically it's just perfect. There are rooms that in the game that can be really complex in terms of how to get around them, but you can just, if you just take a minute and just watch them, like, you can develop an understanding of the movement and the controls that's good enough that you can just look at a room and be like, right, I know what I need to do. And it's just a case of then just, getting the muscle memory down. And it's just, I don't know, there's just a tone to it. Like, just the fact that it wants you to succeed. And, like, a lot of people really enjoyed the story. I personally didn't get much out of it because it's...
Oh, really? That's such a shame.
Well, I don't know if it's just because obviously a lot of it is about the fact that Madeline, the main character, appears to suffer from depression or something like it.
Anxiety.
And that's not, I'm lucky enough that's not something I've really experienced, so maybe that's why it didn't speak to me, but I know it has, like, really, got to a lot of people, which is cool. But yeah, this is the sort of game I never would normally engage with. I normally can't do like hard platformers. In fact, maybe I'm proving the point that maybe it is a hard game for people who don't really actually like hard games. But it was just really nice for a game like this to open the door to someone like me, and for me to be able to engage with it. And yeah, I just thought that was really special. I mean, the art's beautiful, soundtrack's amazing. It's a fucking good year for soundtracks. Has anyone noticed this?
Oh, it's been a good one, yeah.
I think it's absolutely remarkable. I mean, Matt, you were a fan, weren't you?
Yeah, this is up there with my games of the year for sure. And if you hadn't chosen it, I definitely would have. I absolutely loved this game. This is like really early on in the year, wasn't it? Was this like a January release?
Yeah.
It was January, yeah.
And at the time, I mean, I started. I think I might have stopped because there's a chase sequence. I think it's like maybe like the first like major boss or maybe the second one, and I hate being chased. We've been over this, and it was just way too stressful for me, so I stopped. But I went back to it and pushed through and finished it. And yes, it is an incredibly hard game. I mean, this game, I think most people play in like 8 to 10 hours. It took me 20 hours on my final game clock. And I've put on the Discord this week. I've been playing it. I think maybe in lead up to this show. And they're like, oh, I died 900 times. I died 4,000 times. So 20 hours, 4,000 deaths. I mean, that's probably like 4 times the average of everyone else playing it. But it was immensely satisfying. And in terms of like it's got pixel perfect, sort of controls, in my opinion. There are incredibly hard platformer sections, but it's not the game fucking you over. It's only your own fault that you can't chain these series of moves or abilities to get through the level. I mean, towards the end, so very early on, there are these gems in the air, which when you hit, you then get another chance of doing a jump. And towards the end, there are other variants of that. And then towards the end, there are basically parts of the level where you don't touch the ground at all because you're chaining moves together, you're hitting a gem, you're doing something else. You don't touch the floor. And when you might load into like a new screen, seeing all these platforms, how am I even going to get across there? There are also other elements that might affect that you can't actually touch the ground at all. So you've got to do this, that, and the other. I absolutely love that, and just like the feeling of first getting to a screen, saying, I don't even know how I can even do this. And then after a few attempts, it is a lot of like trial and error, but after a few attempts, okay, I've got to chain out, I've got to jump here, land here, quickly do this. I thought the platforming was excellent. And the story, it really affected me. I thought it was a really, really nice way of dealing with those issues. The whole point of the game is Celeste is climbing a mountain, and just the way that speaks about many other things. I thought the story was fantastic. Thought the other characters were nice. I mean, it's quite simplistic in many ways because there's no voice acting. It's just some sounds. It's text on the screen, so you don't get to hear a lot of the things about other characters. But the way they deal with the core themes of the game, I thought were really, really well done, and that supported the excellent platforming, the chaining all those moves together, getting through these really difficult sections. I was really surprised by the game. I didn't think I loved it as much as I did, but what a game! I thought it was excellent.
Yeah, and you're saying that you took ages and you died loads of times and stuff, but there's no judgment for that. Like, the game doesn't give a shit. Like, you did it. Same as anyone else. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like the fact that, it has the strawberries dotted around the game. There are these strawberries that are like, sometimes they're sort of really obvious, like on the path, but they're just a little bit difficult to get to. Sometimes you really have to go out of your way for them. But like, it literally, one of the loading screen tooltips is just like, these are dotted around, they literally do nothing.
Yeah.
So, good.
Connect them if you want, but it doesn't matter if you don't.
Yeah. Again, it's there if you want to challenge yourself, but who cares? Like,
those things don't do anything, but there are also these cassette tapes which you can collect, and by collecting those unlock. Is it like a different
B-sides
version?
But then within the B-sides, there can be another tape which unlocks a C-side, which doesn't make any sense.
Okay,
but
I wasn't aware of that.
And they get absolutely ridiculous. But it's a fucking phenomenal game. I fucking love the final level. I mean, this isn't, it's not really a spoiler. When you're doing like the final ascent to the top of the mountain, like you start the level and there's like a flag in the ground that says like 30 on. I think it's 30, and then you do like quite a difficult bit, and then you see another flag with 29, and you're like, right, okay, I see what's happening. And it's like, and initially, like, it's a proper struggle getting between those flags, and you're like fuck, this is going to be hard. If I've got 30 of these to get past before I get to number one at the top, this is going to be fucking hard. But they get like closer and closer together as you get to the top. So you're like, it's like it's such a struggle at first, and like it never really gets any easier. But it's like 30, fuck it, right, 29, 28. But then it's like when you sort of halfway through, it's like right, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11. Like you just properly feel like you're smashing it.
Feeling, isn't it? Yeah. Of actually like I've never had a feeling. I don't think quite like it in a game where you really do feel like you've climbed a mountain. I mean, like, literally in this case, but like seeing that the end bit, you're like, oh, yeah, we did it. And like, but I do love that last section you were just mentioning there, Sean. Like each one of those bits where you're getting to like the next flag, the 28, 27, 26, each one of those feels like a little puzzle in its own right. You're like, okay, I've done 30, I'm at 29. Okay, let's breathe for a bit, let's calm down. Okay, now let's do this. I'm at 27, 26. And yeah, I love that last sequence. I thought was really, really well done.
Yeah, it's a fucking superb game.
It's so good. James, you played it as well, didn't you?
I had played it, yeah. It was good. I enjoyed it, but not as much as Spider-Man. Sorry.
You're all right. Let's do the voting then. So, James, I assume that's your vote?
Yeah, I'm going Spider-Man.
Matt?
Well, this is tricky because Spider-Man's my game. But I absolutely adored Celeste in like a totally different way. Sean, what way are you voting?
I mean, I'm going for Celeste, obviously.
All right, so that's one apiece. I mean, okay. So if I think about it, I loved Celeste. Well, but with Spider-Man, I just really, really, really fucking liked it. Mm-hmm. But there was a way more of an emotional connection to Celeste, the themes of the story, and just how much I loved it. So this is a bit weird, but I'm going to vote Celeste.
Okay, 2-1 to Celeste. I have no doubt in my mind that I will enjoy Celeste more than I would Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
It's just for that reason why I will vote for Celeste.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, voting against my own game felt weird, and Spider-Man is excellent. I know Liz will discount it, but I think it's well worth your time. But yeah, Celeste is the one for me. What a game.
Spider-Man's gone then.
I'm down to 1 now. I really have fucked myself there.
I think I've only got 1 as well, haven't I?
No, you got 2.
What? The Red Dead and
Gardens Between?
You potentially got
Gardens Between. But I could potentially go down to 1 for that. Right, okay.
Yeah, it's coming.
Next one. Tetris Effect. James.
Okay, so this was... Okay, so I've nominated this for a couple of reasons, and not purely just because it's Tetris, but also because I wanted to nominate Astrobot, but Matt got there first, and I wanted to put a VR game on this.
James, you are the worst person at defending your games, and just ignore all that.
Just let me get on with it. For fuck's sake!
Have you started any of your defences
just let me get on with it.
And the only reason why I did it was James, just be positive about the game.
David, can you just be a bit more patient and let me just finish it
because
rather than just jumping in?
Shoot yourself
all right, well, I'm not going to defend this.
No,
then,
James,
in that
defend
case,
the game.
You. I'm not doing it. No, I'm not doing
please.
it. I'm not doing it. No, I'm not doing it.
James,
don't listen to Dave. He's giving God in about 2 hours.
I'm not doing it.
Am I wrong though, Matt? When you're trying to get your game through to the next round, you don't start it with...
There's no such thing as building into something, is there? It always has to be instant with you. It's got to be straight away.
Don't start with the negative. That's all I'm saying.
I ain't reading it. I'm done.
James, come on.
Oh, James,
don't do this.
You're like a 3-year-old.
Don't listen to Dave, James. He'll be gone. It'll just be us 3 soon.
This is absurd. As soon as I start talking, it's just everyone just starts talking over me and having a go. Why would I want to do this? Why would I want to do it?
James, you're just being negative, mate. Let's bring it up.
Okay, right. Let's all agree to shut up. I want to hear this defense.
Okay, all right. Defense. Go on, James.
Anyway, as I was going to say, Tetris completely I felt it stands on its own merits because this is like Lumines, but really, really good, I felt. And aside from Astrobot, it's the first VR game that I've played that I felt like, when you have the headset on, and usually with most VR games, I always feel like I want to play for 20 or 30 minutes, then I'm done. With this is the first one where I've sat there for several hours and just played because I felt so absorbed in the world in which I'm in. And I mean, I've tried listening to the music outside of the game because that is one of the major parts of this. but it's never quite the same as if I'm actually like playing, because the fusion between the two is just so amazingly good. I mean, it's difficult to describe why it's good, because this is Tetris. I mean, everybody knows Tetris, but it is the fact that you've got these visuals going on, you've got the music, and how well those two sync with each other. I mean, the final level in the journey mode really touched me with the music in particular.
Oh God, yeah.
And I felt such a rush by the end of that, when you got the way that the music swells and you just finally get over the line, and it's just perfect for that. And the fact that you've also got all these other modes that it sticks in there as well, really, it's, to me, it feels like the perfect sort of Tetris package, really. I mean, it's the best version of Tetris I've played since probably since the Game Boy version. I know a lot of people have said that, but it's absolutely true. But it is primarily because of the music and the fusion between them. It's just, for me, it was so perfect. I mean, I know, Dave, you were not so keen on the music, but I really felt that it worked absolutely perfectly.
There's some good tunes on it, but it wasn't as consistent. I think that's what I would say. Usually with his games, they're consistently, the music's consistently brilliant from start to finish, and I didn't get that from this.
No, that's one of the most surprising things of this whole year, I think. The fact that you haven't fallen in love with this in the way that many of us have. I mean,
I really like it. I really like it. I think it's an excellent game, and I've put a lot of time into it now. But I've played through the journey in VR, and it hasn't added enough for me to make, it's not taken that next step for me. I really do like it, and I've played a lot of it, but it's not done enough for me to. I don't understand I mean, would it be on this list? Probably, if I was putting my top 16 games in there, but it wouldn't be high.
But it's also, I mean, you say about the music. I mean, I felt with the music in between, especially in the journey. Okay, there are sort of lulls, in the way that the music sort of builds up and everything, but that for me felt like nice sort of rest points before it moved on to really banging stuff. It just felt like, with many of these other games on this list, it just felt so well paced. It was so well put together.
And also, the other thing is that it didn't build in the same way that it does with, say, Res. No, with Res, it is very much there's a couple of levels that does that, but there's a lot that don't. You start the level and it's boom, straight in, there's the music. I didn't feel the connection with the music like I have with those other games.
Yeah, but in the first stage, I really got that. I remember, when the singer, when it first starts singing, and you're I just was aware that I was just started smiling.
I agree.
While I was playing
I
it.
agree.
I think it's so perfectly played because Tetris is a very, it's widely known that it's really good for getting you in that flow state.
Yeah.
So you're playing it and it's you're listening to the lyrics fucking, yeah, all life is connected. Fuck, that's right. That's right. You've just taken your first E or something and you're oh my God. And it's, obviously because I know loads about drugs and that's why I can comment on that.
Because you just said E. So
but do you know what I mean? It's it's this, because it puts you in that weird sort of subliminal flow state that I don't know, the sort of basically quite cheesy, embarrassing lyrics sort of make sense in the moment. And
I mean, I wouldn't even call it cheesy and embarrassing. I know what you're saying, and there's but I just think that first level, I did think was brilliant. And if every level was like that, where it built and it impressed me as the further you went into it, then I would have enjoyed the game a lot more. But a lot of levels don't.
I can see what you mean, because that first level really feels like it picks up where Res Infinite left off.
Yeah.
And then it kind of wanders off and does its own thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't really... Yeah, that's not a consistent thread through it, I don't think. So I get that.
How much of the journey did you play in VR, Dave?
I played the whole thing in VR.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, actually, the only thing that I hadn't done was that last level in VR, and then I did that before we started recording.
How did you feel about that? Because that last level I just thought was incredible.
It was okay. I mean, it felt, it just felt like playing the game on the TV.
I mean, it's music, which is massively subjective. So on the one hand, I get it, but also there's a lot of music in this that I like that I wouldn't normally. So it still sort of saddens me that it didn't click with you, Dave, because I sort of feel like to an extent it does sort of transcend the sort of thing you would or wouldn't normally listen to.
Well, yeah, I mean, most of his games do. Most of his games do that for me, and there are some very good tracks in this. I'm not, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm not negative about this game.
No,
what I'm saying is that there are games that I'm like, this is nailed on for Game of the Year. This is the Game of the Year contender, right? And it's so weird to hear so many people around me saying this is the Game of the Year contender, and I'm like, no, not really, not for me, not for me. It just, I mean, it's good. It's a brilliant game, but I didn't have that emotional connection with it that I usually get from his games. So,
yeah. I mean, when you say Game of the Year contender, this isn't a Game of the Year contender for me in the same way that Res Infinite was. I think this is an excellent game. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was emotional at points. The music isn't really my sort of thing normally, but I thought the soundtrack was fantastic. But I don't think it's in a sort of Res Infinite sort of levels of mind blowing.
Yeah, I guess I was expecting more. I think you got to remember that when this came out, the hype around it was insane.
Oh yeah,
and when I played it, I was like, initially I was like really disappointed, and then the more I played it, the more I enjoyed it, and then I really got into it. But I never crossed that threshold of saying, no, this is special. It was more like, this is a very good Tetris game.
Yeah, this is it. It's like it's probably the best version of one of the best games ever made. So on the one hand, it's like, well, of course, it's in the Game of the Year list, but then also it's just
that's
Tetris.
The thing, I mean, and that's why it's very difficult to describe why it's really good as well.
Yeah.
Because it is Tetris,
yeah.
And everyone knows that Tetris is amazing. Yeah. It's just that what I felt pushed this over is this fusion with the music as well, which I really enjoyed. Which it's going to depend on how much you connect with that as to how whether it pushes it over or not for you.
Yeah, it's an experience where loads of games on this list aren't an experience in the same way. But yeah, like the combination of the visuals, the euphoria, the music, and then like getting into the sort of almost like Zen like mode of playing the game. Yeah, I thought it was so good.
Should we see what it's up against?
Yes.
Here we go. Forza Horizon 4.
Bloody good game, that.
I mean, I said at the time, didn't I, Sean? It's a fucking piss take, that game.
It is. Like, all right, on the surface, open world driving game, doesn't take itself too seriously. But it's the fact that I'm not massively into cars. I enjoy driving. I don't know a lot about cars. My knowledge of cars is limited to my experience of them and the sorts of cars that normal people drive. But the game allows for that. And it's like, if that's the level on which you enjoy cars, then you can enjoy our game on that level. And you can drive around a Focus for pretty much the entire game if you want. Or, you can find the car that your dad had when you were growing up, if it's like an old Escort or or whatever. Like, and the game just molds itself around that. And it's like, if you really like cars, there's all the high-end shit you can get into if you really want to. But again, it's similar to the Celeste thing. It's the sort of game I'm not usually into, but it was remarkable to me that I felt welcomed by it, and I was allowed to make it what I wanted, and the game was fine with that. And it didn't feel like I was like, you don't. There are a couple of events where it like forces you to use a certain type of vehicle or whatever, but it's not like so many driving games I've tried to get into where it's like, well, all right, you can start off with the hatchbacks, but really you need to graduate to something a bit more exciting. Whereas this is like, no, mate. Stick with the hatchbacks. Who gives a shit? That's what you like. That's it. And there's just something so totally brilliant and refreshing about that. And I think that's like it. It's a really good game anyway. But I think it's that aspect of it that really allowed me to be like, I fucking love this game.
It's a celebration, isn't it? The game is a celebration of so many things. This time. One of the major differences between, the last game and this one is that they've been a little bit more I mean, they've never been grounded in reality, but now they seem to really sort of push the bizarre stuff. You know, there's a whole level based around Halo and like with the gaming challenges. So you know, the Outrun and Sega Rally stuff in there. It's a massive celebration of driving games in general. You know what I mean? It feels like Burnout Paradise has the touch of Forza in it, like Forza Motorsport. You know, it touches on like Outrun, Sega Rally, as I said. The game's just too good. Like it's really hard to explain to those that haven't played it, but I've played a lot of racing games over the years, and there always seems to be compromises. You know what I mean? There's always seems to be like either, you know, there's something about it that is a bit irritating, whether it's the driver AI or the graphics or, you know, the handling's just a little bit not quite right, or it's too hard or it's too easy. This comes out and it's just like, for starters, I knocked it up a couple of levels difficulty wise. And it suddenly became a very difficult racer for me, but like a really rewarding one. And I hadn't had that in Forza games before. I just played it on default and just blitzed through it. I just appreciated it so much more because of that, because the actual racing just felt so tense, and I had to sit at the edge of my seat through every race. The progression system, which is something I complained about during Forza Horizon 3, they nailed that again. The way they did it through seasons, and basically you can do whatever you want wherever you want, and the more stuff you do in a certain sort of type of race, the more you'll unlock in that certain type of race. You know what I mean? I thought it was going to go, right, now you've got to do street racing. It doesn't do that. It's like, you know, if you want to do street racing, do that, and then we'll unlock some more of that shit. Or if you like the rally stuff, do that, and we'll just focus on unlocking that stuff.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. It did, like I just said, it didn't force you to do all the races. You can do what you want to play the sort of game you want to do, because you could just hammer all the rally races, really, and play the whole game that way.
Yeah. And then
really well done.
You've got the stunt stuff in there is just fun. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Excellent.
It's like...
Yeah, there's some genuinely funny writing in there as well.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
A lot of the whole sort of Horizon Festival thing, makes me feel really old. I don't know if anyone else gets that. I feel like I'm surrounded by teenagers or something.
Oh yeah, but that's totally what they're going for as well.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It's almost a parody of that culture.
Exactly, and then because then you compare that to like, you know, the film director who's just he's just genuinely quite funny, but not in a obviously like, oh, he's the funny character sort of way. He's just quite a naturally amusing.
Well, he's just a bit sarcastic.
Person. Yeah.
That's all it requires. Yeah, no, I mean, like the plot of Forza is you turn up and they go, so you want to be a racer, eh? Well, you've got a long way to go to be a name around here. Here's a car and a house. Like, yeah, they play on that. They know that shit. It's good.
And I mean, like, you know, and I said on the show initially, I was a bit like, because it flags up, you know, having like certain real life places like Ambleside and Edinburgh and stuff, and initially I was like, well, this isn't actually what those places are like. And we talked about, you know, like the roads being incredibly wide, considering this is supposedly set in the UK. But then once you understand, it's like, well, they had to do those things.
Yeah, of course they did,
wouldn't be fun otherwise. And once you understand it. Sorry, go on, Matt.
No, I was going to say they did have to do it, but I definitely don't. This is not for like a British game, apart from like there's some villages in Edinburgh.
Oh, mate, no, there are definitely areas that just feel
areas
pure Brit.
for sure. But overall, I mean, the wide roads, they have to do it because of the game. But yeah, it could have been parts of America with little British villages. As an overall, vibe, I didn't think this is a British. So what's that?
I know what you mean. There is a slight loss of identity there, I think, but I don't mind.
But also, I'm not sure what they could have done, really.
Yeah, and like once you understand that it is essentially a theme park, like it is, of course, it's a massively truncated version of sort of Northern England and bits of Scotland and stuff. It's fine. It's just, that was just a bit of a hump to get over, I think, for me.
Looks stunning as well. Looks absolutely stunning.
Does, yeah. We never even got into the multiplayer stuff, did we? That's a fucking crime.
I've never got into the multiplayer on those games. I will do at some point, I'm sure, but...
We should make time for that, because that would be good.
Vote time, Sean.
The The greatest game of all time, or Forza.
Oh, fuck off. That's made your decision, surely, Sean.
Fuck. No, this is a really tough one. I don't know.
Okay, well, you come back. James?
I have to go for Tetris Effect because I haven't played Forza.
Yeah.
So
Matt?
I really liked Forza, but if I'm being honest with myself, I preferred overall the experience with Tetris, so I'm going to vote Tetris.
I'm going Forza.
Oh,
Sean?
no, you see, because...
Sean, come on, mate.
Well, no, because I was just thinking,
Forza,
like,
Sean.
Shut up,
here's
Matt.
me, like, agonising over it. I haven't played Tetris in fucking VR yet.
Yeah, but you can't consider... trust me, it's not that good.
Okay.
Trust me, Sean, it is that good.
Sean,
Well,
it
it
isn't.
is,
Did you play Tetris Effect with headphones?
I mean, no, but...
Oh my god! Right, okay. So
Yeah,
headphones
so
are more important than
headphones-
VR.
I've got
then
hi-fi
VR,
speakers
it's
in it, so I don't really bother with
But
headphones. 'cause I'm a
honestly, I just
snob.
come on.
Don't
the best racing game ever
Dave
made.
has not
Come
got
All
on,
I'm saying,
Tetris.
like, so it's like in my head they're level, but there is an aspect of Tetris that I have not
Exactly.
seen yet or experienced yet,
No,
which
wait.
could potentially
What about
raise
the
it.
online? You've not seen that yet?
fuck.
Oh, Sean, listen.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
You nominated Forza Horizon 4 before Matt nominated Tetris Effect.
No, it's James.
James
It was
nominated
me, yeah.
Tetris Effect.
Hmm.
So come on, you've already made that decision.
But I had Tetris on the list. I just knew someone else was going to
Lower down on the list.
Yeah, but it was
Sure.
on the list. I mean, Sean, if you think
Yeah, lower.
emotionally, like, let's think about what Tetris Effect has done versus...
Emotionally, fuck
Just
off.
think
I mean,
about it.
think about it. Like Forza comes out every year. You know,
No, it
like
doesn't.
Tetris Effect. You know, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Okay. Every other year, then it comes out, and this, you know,
That makes no
Tetris
difference.
is.
I mean, Sean, if you've enjoyed
There'll be
it
another
much
one.
the way you have, and you haven't played with headphones and or VR, it's going to blow your absolute dick off when that happens. So if you
But
think...
it doesn't. I've done it. Sean, I've been in your situation.
yeah,
I
but
played
He's just
it.
being contrarian.
You put
He's
it
just
on
being
and it
contrarian.
makes it makes a bit of difference. You're like, oh, there's some 3D stuff. That's it.
He's just
Yeah,
being
it's an
contrarian.
incredible experience, but Sean,
I don't-
you must have enjoyed the experience anyway without that. So it
But
doesn't matter
Dave,
what
if
you
I
have or
go for
haven't played
Forza,
yet.
then if I go for Forza, we're just at a stalemate, and these two aren't
Good.
going to budge, are they?
Good.
Exactly,
Let's
so
do
you
it.
might as well choose the one that
Let's
your
go
heart
for a
says is the
stalemate.
right
Here all
Sean.
one.
night. I mean,
Sean, let's go for a stalemate. Let's do it.
but what's the point?
Last one
Because
now,
I
last one,
get to
Sean.
shout
Come
at
on.
these two guys. So you
Sean,
want to hear that?
it's the one, Sean.
I'm going to have to go for Tetris, Dave. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
fucking
Here we
hell,
go.
Sean. What a short
Here
game,
we
you
go.
dickhead. Right, okay.
Well done, Sean. You're forgiven for Detroit. So that's, yeah.
What is Sean's
I,
going to do
I
with that?
gave my reasons for Detroit. It was a it was a tactical move. You know, I don't actually
Yeah,
like the
screw
game.
me
James.
over.
I
I
ain't
know.
going to forget that, Sean. That is such a shit. I honestly, fucking awful, awful decision from you there. Oh, well, I don't want there to be an argument, so I think I'll choose the easy one to get out of an argument.
I mean,
This is the
I'll
most
say
Sean
one
Bell
thing.
thing ever.
Right,
Yeah.
I think Tetris is a better game of two, but also I
I
wasn't
think
really
you're
prepared.
fucking insane. I
Hang
think
on,
you're
let me
fucking
finish.
insane.
Says James.
Insane.
Right, I also wasn't prepared for Sean to be the one to still have 4 games remaining. Like, he was getting too far away from the rest of us. Had to.
I'm sorry, Matt. How you can look at those two games? It's
I can only
crazy.
tell you, like, you know, what I felt, and I had an emotional connection with Tetris I didn't have with Forza.
Yeah.
Forza's a great game,
Fucking hell.
but I wasn't thinking, oh
Dave,
my god, what's happening?
I couldn't even be bothered to get like a free game pass to play Forza Horizon
James,
4,
you've
whereas
not played
Tetris is,
Forza, you fucking idiot. You haven't got a mouth in this.
I have. I played the demo. Dave.
You played
great.
the demo.
And
That's
it-
enough,
and it was
is it?
fine.
Right,
Fine.
you played the demo.
It was fine. It was good enough that I thought, okay, I'm.
If
I don't
I'd
need
have
to play
said
this.
that I'd played the demo of Tetris Effect and thought it was wank, you'd be going mental.
Yeah.
You would
You're
actually.
such a fucking twat. Right. Last two games then. First one
Why
we're going
are
to
you
talk about.
unfolding them? You know what they are. It's why are you unfolding
Oh,
them?
actually, I
We've got to
don't
do them in
remember
an
what
order,
the last
haven't
one
we?
is. The Gardens Between is by nomination. I just really, really loved this game. You know, it's not the longest. It's a pretty straightforward linear puzzle game, but it's filled with so much heart in the story, in the soundtrack, in the visuals, in the animation, in the puzzles themselves. Like, each and every puzzle just feels really unique. And really quite special. Like, the themes around the game are interesting. The way that it ends and how you look back on those themes and piece it all together, I think it's just honestly really, really wonderful. And you know, we sort of criticised the price a little bit on this game when it came out, but if I'm honest, that's all relative. And you know, if you are looking for a 2-hour experience, then it's worth every penny in my book. You know what I mean? Like, we've got to be conscious of people like spending, like, they spend money on games, and you need to take that into account. But really, if you're into this sort of game, then this is essential. For those of you that have not heard of The Gardens Between, it's an indie game where it's sort of like, you're not controlling, there are 2 characters, but you're not controlling the characters as such, you're controlling time. So they're walking in a spiral up they're walking up like this tower, and then they come across obstacles, and you manipulate time to help them get past those obstacles. There are switches to pull in, so you do control the characters every now and then, but you're not controlling them walking or anything, you're just fast forwarding time and it plays out. It allows them to do some really interesting stuff with animation, and I mean, we spoke about it last week briefly, because Sean, you've completed it now, right?
I have, yeah.
So what were your thoughts?
I was only a couple of levels away from the end. Yeah, it's fucking brilliant. It's, yeah, I mean, everything you just said. It's, and you know, as I say, we talked about it last week. It's so you don't have this super precise control over what's going on, but it works with that so brilliantly. And it's like, as you say, you're right, you don't control the characters directly, but you do control elements of the world, which might change, like where they walk or what they do or whatever. And it's always like, there's elements of experimentation in it, but it's never, by the time you never figure anything out by accident. Like, by the time you've got the right solution, you've worked it out. And it's just so elegant the way it handles that, despite the fact that like every level is like a new idea pretty much. And I've just, like, since finishing it, it's, you know, I've carried on thinking about it. I've had the soundtrack on, you know, playing on a loop since. Again, another good fucking soundtrack. It's absolutely stunning. Really? It's a beautiful game. I mean, I got it in a sale. I think I paid a tenner for it. I don't think I'd be that sore if I'd paid full whack, though. Yeah, really, really pleased. I
mean, you've got to play it. If you're, I mean, I can't recommend it enough. Like, because it you know, even if you're not, I can't see how you wouldn't be a fan of it. Like, I mean, it's a bit weird because I suppose if you could criticize on it a little bit, like, it's not fully, like, the gameplay is literally just, but it's not fast forward and rewind in a cutscene, is it? There's more to it than that. It's just so it's not fucking like, clever.
Yeah, it's not like, okay, so you're rewinding and fast forwarding and you end up finishing the level, but like a lot of games like that, it's about, you know, you're doing that to the extent that eventually you end up with a playthrough where everything is done from start to finish, is done perfectly, but actually that wouldn't work with this. You couldn't do a replay of the level where all the puzzles work out because you're putting things in these like folds in time. You're inserting events into, you know, and reordering things, and like it couldn't play out logically just in one go. No, and that's what's sort of fascinating about it.
Matt?
Yeah, I absolutely love this game. This game, obviously, you were raving about it previously, but it came to Game Pass, and I knew obviously it was going to be in the discussion for the Game of the Year. So, I'm immensely happy I played it. I thought it was a fantastic experience. Obviously, it's not massively long, but I mean, I think it took me a bit longer than you guys. It's probably like close to maybe like 2.5 or 3 hours. But yeah, I thought it was just a really, really well told little story. I thought the story was really touching. I mean, the first words I said to myself after I finished it was that was a really beautiful little game. I thought it was fantastic. It sort of breaks its own rules sometimes, and the whole like rewinding and fast forwarding of time, but it doesn't matter. You know the general idea. And yeah, I just thought it was a joy from start to finish, really.
Also, I'd heard that there's an unlockable in the game that's one of the best unlockables of all time.
Oh.
Like in any game, yeah. And I don't know what that is because it's quite a spoiler.
Really?
If yeah, but apparently you can get an unlockable and it's meant to be utterly incredible. I saw someone tweet about it and the devs tweeted out saying not many people have found this.
Oh,
so
right, I should look into that, yeah.
Yeah, I really want to find out what that is. But yeah. James, have you got anything to add?
Not really. I mean, I played it at the same time as you did because it was kind of. You remember, it was like kind of a surprise.
That's right. Yeah, it was great. I loved that. Well.
And it is excellent. I mean, this would have been on my list as well because yeah, I really very much enjoyed it.
I would have been, but you picked Detroit, so no room.
Fuck off, Matt. Go on.
Well, it's up against, and you guys have probably worked it out, but I can't remember.
It's Monster Hunter.
Yeah, it's Monster Hunter. Bye.
Why is that funny, Dave?
Because it's going out. Go on.
Right, I have been a fan of Monster Hunter for a long time, but it's been a series that has been notorious for being difficult to get into, you know, as I'm sure I've said many times before. Yes, I'm a fan of the series, but I had to bounce off like 2 separate Monster Hunter games before it started to click. But like, this has been the one that it's finally cracked the West, and so many people have played it as their first ever Monster Hunter game and got really into it. And it's been such a nice thing to see. I mean, I've said before, it does make me feel a bit like a post-Brexit Farage, in that a bit like I've been banging on about getting people into this series for so long, and then they've just come along and absolutely nailed it, and I'm a bit like, well, all right, okay, my job's done.
Hang on.
So, yeah.
Sure, what's the Nigel Farage connection there?
Well, because he got what he wanted, didn't he? We're leaving the EU, and now he's like, well, what does he do now? Fucking waste of space, isn't he? I mean, he was before, but you know what I mean.
Also, like, Sean is really quite racist. So,
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
that's the main connection. You won't admit it here, but...
Yeah, and everyone's secretly really sad that I never died in a plane crash.
Yeah, and he loves a pint. He loves a pint.
I do. Yeah, it's having been into the series for so long and trying to get people into it for so long, and now they've delivered it to everyone. Do you know what I mean? It's like now everyone can get involved and everyone loves it, and that's just such a nice thing to see. Like, I mean, yeah, okay, so the game itself is just like a perfect action RPG. I mean, I say action RPG, the RPG stuff is like, it's not like you can just level your guy up and get better and make the game easy for yourself. It's about learning what you need to tackle a certain monster, and that might involve, you know, like doing one monster you might think, okay, well, this set of armor would be really good against it because it's got certain resistances or whatever. So in order to get that, I need to hunt like this monster, and then I also need to make this weapon, so I should hunt this monster. And the way you sort of, you know, all right, the missions in the game are like in a sort of rough order, but the sort of the path you take through it is kind of up to you to an extent, in that you sort of think like, right, well, this is what I want to hunt next, so how do I prepare for that, and how do I sort of plot my way towards it? And that's so satisfying. And it's just, yeah, the way it sort of takes... Like, there was a lot of concern before it came out that it was going to dumb things down a little bit, because there had been like leaks suggesting that was the case. I suppose it does, but I would call it streamlining rather than dumbing down. Like, it doesn't remove anything that people would really miss. It just makes life a bit easier. And okay, they took out... So with the last Monster Hunter game before Monster Hunter World, they added these things, like there was like these different styles for each weapon, and each one sort of changed your weapon combos a little bit, and there was one that allowed you to do sort of cool aerial moves, and one that allowed you to do like really good sort of, you know, last second dodges with cool counterattacks and stuff like that. Those sort of elements have just been built into like the standard weapon combos in this, but just in really smart ways. It's just really elegant the way they did it, so that you're not choosing like a combat style. You just learn the weapon, and you have access to all these other like interesting moves. It's sort of it's always been a thing in Monster Hunter that you can play with a certain weapon for like 10 hours and think you know it, and then you go and watch a weapon tutorial and it turns out there's loads of stuff you missed. Like that is still the case. Like there's still so much to it. I fucking love it, and it's just so nice that this series is finally like something that loads of people are into. And they've announced the first paid DLC, and it's out like in autumn, so that's like, you know, sort of nearly 2 years after the game came out, because they've just been pumping free shit into it all this time. It's like every fucking month there's like a new event or a new monster they've added.
How's the new DLC? It's not out until what, next year, you say?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I saw people talking about it, and then it's all like snowy themed, isn't it? But I didn't actually look at the release date. It's not until next autumn.
Yeah, it's fucking miles off.
I totally
I'm surprised they've announced it. Really. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and you know, and they've been adding, again, this is something they've always done with Monster Hunter. I think it's just like, because previous to this, it had lived on the 3DS for so long. And it's like, well, no one pays for DLC for 3DS games, generally speaking. So I think everyone thought, like, well, now it's going to the PS4 and the Xbox. Like, surely they're just going to be like, look, here's a new monster. It's a $5 or whatever. And they've just not done that. They're just like, no, it's still free. And also, this week we've added a Dante from Devil May Cry costume, and now we've added fucking Geralt from The Witcher. And yeah, and just loads of these like cool timed events with like weird different monsters to fight that get you special bits of armor, and yeah, just people have been absolutely loving it. Like my only regret is that like having a kid this year, well, I had him last year, but you know, I haven't been able to put the time into it that I wanted, but I've still put like 120 hours into it, and that's nothing. Like that was mostly like when it came out. And then I've just not been able to keep up with it since. And people have been putting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours into it and loving it. So yeah, it's fucking great. Love it.
Yeah, it is a very good game. I just checked, and I played 14 hours of Monster Hunter.
Oh, there you go.
I was really enjoying it, but I guess I'm at the time I think I'm needing money, so I sold it for something else. Anyway, regardless.
That's fair enough. No, it's a huge commitment, as I say, 120 hours, and I was still not like barely scratching the surface, but there was still so much more for me to do.
Yeah, because I was having fun. John Denton had it. I was playing with him, and
that's right. You got into it, didn't you?
Yeah. And Amazing. In fact, I was just checking my score, and Amazing. I played like 340 hours into it. So yeah, some of our games group were massively into it.
Yeah.
I was enjoying it, but I just sold it. But yeah, I suddenly never played Monster Hunter before. I was always interested, mostly because there's a bit of an air of mystery around the game, because I knew you know, this was massive in the East and big on PSP, I think, at the time. So I was like, oh, Monster Hunter, I've heard good things. And I was excited when it finally came over here, you know, properly, at least on the console I owned. And it's like a multiplayer sort of. I mean, for me, it felt like a Destiny in many ways. But in that sort of gameplay style, I thought it was really, really excellent. There's so much to it, you know, tracking the monsters and hunting them, killing them with various different types of weapon. You know, I am to like eat food before a hunt, and there's tons of upgrades for your various armor sets and weapon sets. I thought that was all really interesting, really compelling, and it felt different. I wouldn't say less polished to Destiny, but it just felt like a different type of polish. Maybe it's that's sort of.
I know what you mean. There's still.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Yeah,
it's still like really sort of menu heavy as well, which I think sort of.
Yeah, the menus weren't great, but it was a bit confusing, because there was like one area where are you on a ship, and that's the area where there were other people, other like human characters, but that was
the sort of gathering hub thing.
But then there wasn't the whole social area. It's just like one area, so there was some confusion around it for me personally. I guess that's sort of where like that sort of Eastern heritage comes in. It was not quite as sort of dumbed down as some may think, but I thought it was a really excellent game. And I even hearing people talk about the DLC, admittedly, like I said, I didn't know when it was coming out. I thought maybe that'd be a good game to get back into, but I really enjoyed it for a first timer who had no experience of it before. I thought it was really good.
Yeah. Well, which way are you voting, Matt?
I mean,
Gardens Between or Monster Hunter?
Yeah, I mean, out of the two, I'm going to go with my heart, and basically, I preferred Gardens Between.
James?
Yeah, it's also Gardens Between.
Gardens Between for me as well.
Sorry, Sean.
No, it's fine. I mean, yeah, with absolutely no regrets, token vote for Monster Hunter. But yeah, no, quite happy for it to be beaten by Gardens Between. Yeah,
it's weird when that happens, isn't it? Like you're like, I fucking love this game, but at the same time,
I think there's more of that this year than any previous year, hasn't there? Like, yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, we have made it to the quarterfinals.
Here we go. This is where it gets heavy.
This is where the roller coasters reach the top and is about to fall down. You're probably looking at your iPlayer now or whatever, your podcast player, and it says like 12 minutes left. Or maybe you're not, and it says 3 hours. Right. So the first quarterfinal.
I'm getting nervous now.
Red Dead Redemption 2 versus Astro Bot.
Oh.
This is why you think it's rigged. It's just, you know.
Go on then. Well, let's just get our votes out of the way, because I think this is going to be our first deadlock, right?
Could be.
Maybe, because I mean, I'm voting Astrobot.
Yeah.
Like,
And I'm voting.
whatever,
I'm voting Red Dead.
I'm going Astrobot.
Sean?
Yeah, I'm going Red Dead. I've not played Astro, but have I?
So where do we go? Okay, I'll start.
Yeah, you go.
I thought. So I came into this with 2 games that I'd be happy being Game of the Year. Red Dead Redemption 2 and Astrobot Rescue Mission. But when it comes down to the 2 going up head to head, I think Red Dead does more. Red Dead does... not Red Dead does more. The thing that I had with Astrobot is that I really, really enjoyed it up until the last 2 worlds, and then I loved it. You know what I mean? The first 3 worlds, they were fine. Like, they were brilliant, in fact. Right? I don't want to downplay it. They were brilliant. But for me, it never really, like... When you got to the final 2 worlds and it started opening up the platforming and then really utilising the ideas that it built up, that's when the game became brilliant for me. And it felt like it could have done with another couple of worlds. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I would happily have had more, because I was absolutely in love with the game. So, what you mean in terms of complexity? Do you think they should have started the complexity earlier, or just?
Yes, yeah. Because when you think about it, like, those last 2 worlds are so good. Like, I mean, they're next level good, right? They are Game of the Year good. But it's like, when you look at it, it's actually quite a small portion of the game. Like, the larger part of the game is going through the levels, looking round for
but
Astrobots.
there's also all the challenge levels as well, like, which are significantly more difficult and are more in the vein of like the
that's fine. And I'll admit I didn't play those, so I haven't tried any of those. So yeah, no, that's a good shout. But when it comes to Red Dead, I was so invested in that world, like so invested in it, like thinking about characters outside of while I was outside of the game. You know, every time I saw a character in that game that I knew, I was so excited to talk to them. Like, just to find out more, or just to see how they react to missions that we've just done. Like, I was so invested in that game. It was a piss. Like, it was ridiculous. And no, I'm not going to do that. Well, if it wasn't in VR, but a lot of the stuff that in the earlier worlds of that game that was so good, it kind of feels like, you know, they were gimmicky VR stuff.
Well,
yeah, but that's because they're trying to bed people.
Totally.
It's such a shitty way of describing. Like, yeah, it's a. They want to make it easy for people to access and not overwhelm them. I wouldn't say it's. I wouldn't say it's gimmicky.
No, right. Okay. What I'm saying,
gimmicky implies. Well, let's
so we need to go into some details a little bit, right? But we need to go to some details a little bit. There's bits where you get one of those, what they call them, those little petal things that you blow. They're all like fuzzy.
Yeah,
actually
they're sort of dandelion
dandelions.
things, isn't it?
Yeah. So the first time you realised that you could blow that, right? It was brilliant, right? Don't get me wrong. I was like, fucking hell, that is class. But that's not on the same level as walking into Valentine. You know what I mean? Like, that had moments of going, that's really clever. I really like that. When that happens, that is so good the way they've done that. But the first time you get into Saint Denis, are you fucking kidding me? Like, that is like, that is just unfucking real.
I mean,
that was unreal.
It's incredibly impressive. I wouldn't say it's mind blowing.
Matt, it is the most, because it feels like you've taken your character out of that game and put him in another game.
Fully appreciate it. I mean, yeah, what I love about that section particularly is that, like, you really did feel exactly how Arthur felt at the time. Like, you're a fish out of water. It's like there's too many people, too many. I thought that was. I don't know how. It just feels so well done that. Yeah, like, I don't like this place. I want to go back to where I was, the world I know. I thought that was a great transition. Absolutely.
It wasn't a great transition.
I thought it was incredibly well done.
It was mind-blowing. Mind-blowing.
I think the thing with Red Dead is that, like, it would be very easy to just be like, yeah, but they had, like, a literally infinite budget, and but it's impressive in ways beyond, like, yeah, money's been spent. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
totally.
it's not just impressive on a technical level. Like, it's got heart, which I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, but so has Astrobot, Sean. Like, it really has.
I haven't fucking played it, and believe me, I'd love to break the stalemate. I can't. I know, I get.
Well, no, but Sean can break the stalemate if he wants to.
No, but I need a good reason.
Sean can do what he wants, Dave.
He hasn't fucking played it.
Doesn't matter. Any of us can switch anything at any point.
I can't pick a game because I will probably really like it when I play it. Over one I've definitely played and loved. I can't.
Look, Astrobot is full of heart, right? And I totally agree with you. But there's just, for me, there's these little drops of wonderful stuff in Astrobot. Little drops of it throughout, and it's so impressive. I will not say a bad word about that game, right? But Red Dead just feels like a completely, like, it's a fucking world that you're dropping into. It right, okay. How about this? How about this, right? So this probably explains it. Astrobot is a completely unique experience, right? It's never been done before, and they fucking nailed it. Red Dead is an open world game. We've played 1 million open world games, and this is so far ahead of anything Rockstar's done before. Anything, you know, that, like, any of these open world games have done before, bar Zelda, but that's a completely different type of game. In terms of world building and immersion, people have been trying to do stuff like this for years, and they've never got close to what this is. So for me, it has to be Red Dead.
But the controls, Dave, the missions haven't really progressed.
Not just that, but I mean, the thing is, I bounced off Red Dead because it does take an awful lot. You know, you have to invest yourself in that game, and
of course you do.
It's not as immediately accessible as something like Astrobot, which I really felt was trying to do something new. Like, there's something new there. I mean, Red Dead is like a amazing sort of, you know, from what I've played, like, refinement of the genre, but Astrobot is something new.
James, it's not a refinement of the genre, it's a step forward. And secondly, you can't berate me all year for not putting enough time into Yakuza and then drop that fucking argument.
Okay, no,
you
I've
can't.
not played it enough.
No, you can't.
I said I've not played it enough.
No, you can't.
But the fact that I bounced straight onto Spider-Man rather than playing this would tell you something about the pacing in this game. It's not perfect.
What, the pacing in Red Dead?
Yeah.
The pacing in Red Dead is some of the best pacing I've ever played in a game, James.
What, the opening 3 hours
Yes.
is, that everyone has criticised, apart from you.
I loved every second of it. I loved how slow it was at the beginning. I loved how the story started taking shape and then suddenly the pace picked up. And then I loved how it slowed everything down again because I was ready for that. There's one part of that game that I didn't like and it lasted half an hour.
Yeah, I know.
That's it. Out of what, 60 hours of gameplay.
Well, and do you think this is a revolution rather than evolution?
It was a bit of both, isn't it?
Well,
it is, and I think
it could be one or the other.
No one else is going to be able to match it.
In certain aspects, it's a revolution. In other aspects, it's an evolution.
Yeah, like no one else is going to be able to touch it for a long time.
But Matt, you can't it's the same as Astrobot. Astrobot still lifts stuff from Mario games and other games. It lifts fucking levels out of those games.
Well, in what ways does it lift levels? I mean, it's certainly got the vibe of it.
That fairground neon level is straight out of Mario's done that loads of times.
Like, in what Mario games have done that?
Mario 3D World.
I haven't played that one. It had stuff inspired by. I mean, but the thing about Red Dead, obviously, everyone knows about my thoughts on the game, but for me, Astrobot is a 10, whereas Red Dead is a 9. Like, for me, they're both 10s actually. I think. But I mean, it's like as much as I enjoyed Red Dead, like the missions still don't have. I wouldn't say they've massively progressed. The story is obviously next level shit, as is graphically some other stuff. But there's still some key parts. Like are we not still waiting for the true next gen Rockstar game?
Look at it this way, right? Everybody that's played Astrobot has engaged with that and has felt like a connection with it. Like you felt a connection with this, Dave. Matt did. I did. Right. If you look at Red Dead, okay, I didn't get that far in, so my opinion is not as valid, obviously, as yours, right? You liked it, and also Sean liked it. Matt rushed through it and can't even remember half the characters.
That's not the game's fault.
That's not true.
That would indicate how memorable this game was compared with
I'm not dismissing
it.
It's memorable. I may rush through it.
You fucked that argument.
But
I thought you were so close to convincing me then, and then you fucked the argument completely. You were walking towards me with your hand out, and I put my hand out, and then you come out with that nonsense, and I whipped it back.
That's
again.
Nonsense. You never, whatever I say, you're not going to agree with. So it doesn't matter.
Matt, can you really say that How long did you spend in Astrobot?
Like 8 or 10 hours or so.
Okay, and
every minute of that was enjoyable, and whereas Red Dead, as much as I enjoy it, and I've said I've enjoyed it many, many times, there were absolutely frustrating parts, and some parts of it, I think this doesn't feel like they've progressed.
It wasn't frustrating when you walked past an Astrobot that you needed to help, and you're not allowed to go back and get him.
Well, no, because after the first time I learned not to go too fast and I had to turn around. And but it wasn't frustrating at all. It was not frustrating like, oh, I've pressed the wrong button, I've shot someone in Red Dead again. Or, oh, I've done this and now I've punched my horse. It's just like...
But also, the numbers here are on Astrobot's side, because we've got 3 of us loved this game. And 1 of us haven't played it. Whereas with Red Dead, it's like 2 of us loved it. 1 of us hasn't played it, and 1 of us thought it's all right. But of course it does.
1 of us that loved Astrobot liked Red Dead more.
We're stuck there, aren't we?
Well, I'm going to die on this hill.
We need a way out of this. What are we going to do? I can't.
Sean, if you switch your vote, Sean, I will support Far and Celeste until the very end. That's it. This is the hill I'm going to die on.
I mean, this is the only way out of this, isn't it? It's a shitty deal.
This is the hill I'm going to die on. Right? I'm not willing to let Red Dead, a game I thought was great, but with stuff that really felt last gen, with also next gen stuff as well.
Fuck off, man.
Dave, like,
last gen.
honestly, right? No, but like some of them, like we're still doing a thing where you go to the marker, there's a shootout, and you go back, and it's just like, when are we going to get a fully next gen Rockstar game? That's what I want.
Some of the missions in that game are so fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, some are, but
They
generally,
are, but you could sort of tell in sort of the latter half of the game that they had more story than they had ideas for missions.
Right, okay, so I've been trying to way of describing this mission, which is right towards the end of the game, without spoiling it, when you need to go to the prison.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
That was right near the end. That was fucking
No, I know, yeah, obviously there are
phenomenal.
still some really good ones, but there are a lot of, just go here and shoot the lads.
yeah, it's still
What
the same
about
in that
everything
regard.
that happens after Chapter 6, though, Sean?
Yeah. No, I know.
I mean, Jesus Christ! Not only does it elevate Red Dead Redemption 2, it elevates Red Dead Redemption 1.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
The achievement.
Yes, it does some good stuff, but I mean, I still think it's got some last gen shit in it. It's not that
name
game.
one
When
thing
I've-
that's last gen.
some of the
Name one
mission
thing.
structures
Controls,
and
the fucking controls.
the controls,
Some of
it
the
feels
mission
terrible to control. It's not a satisfying.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
I mean, like, yeah, I want them to do a proper next gen game, and like they're not clear, like some, I don't know, like, are they hindered by some old engine or the way they program movement in that game? You can't compare the movement of that game compared to like.
Sean, are you listening
no,
to
just
this?
like-
Are you seriously saying that this feels last gen?
No, in some areas,
The controls definitely do.
yeah, you can't deny
Well, so
that.
no, the controls are limited by how many fucking buttons or
No, but
anything.
just
and
think
not
of
only
how
that, you
shit this
get
game
used to
feels
them.
to move.
Nah, that's nonsense.
get used
Come
to
on,
them.
you can't defend the controls in this
You
game.
get
Like when
used
you
to,
compare
you
it
get
to
used to them within the
yeah, but
second
you shouldn't
chapter.
have to get used to them, should you?
No, but you
Like,
do.
They should be
you do,
intuitive
and they're
from the
not a
beginning.
problem.
No, but it
You
doesn't
do,
feel
and
good
they're
to
not a
control.
problem.
It's not an enjoyable control experience. Like God of War felt great, Spider-Man felt great. Loads of other games feel just good and enjoyable to control. This feels like you're constantly fighting it, having to remember, okay, this is that. But
You see, once I got my head around the fact that I was directing Arthur rather than controlling him, I was all right with it because it's all in service of that, like that sort of visual fluidity rather than.
But exactly. But you're still adapting to a situation.
Yeah, but
rather
sometimes
than
you have
it being
to adapt to
presented
games,
you.
though, James.
Yeah.
But that's not. That's you don't write off the game because of that.
I was all right with it. Yes,
no,
I
not writing
had
it off. We're just saying that it's still not as accessible as it could be, is it?
I mean, perhaps, but then it's in service of the fact that you can do loads of things. You know, like it's.
But you could do loads of things in a lot of games. You know, it's like, but the way.
What are you talking about?
What do you mean? What we're talking
Well, I mean, you've
about?
not even fucking played it, James.
I have played it. I played it for I don't know, about 5 or 6 hours.
See, this is the difference. Like, Sean is like defending and talking about Red Dead, and instead of you talking and defending about Astrobot, you're having a pop at Red Dead. You've not fucking played it.
I have played it.
Well, you're
not enough,
chapter
though.
2. You've done the intro.
I'm on chapter 2.
Yeah, exactly. You've done the intro. Jesus Christ.
And it was so good that I definitely continue playing it.
well,
I cannot believe you've been fucking bollocking me about Yakuza and then you're leveling the same argument at me. It's pathetic.
I'm not.
You
Yeah,
are. It's
but
exactly
again,
the same
I'm
thing.
not. How is it the same thing?
Well, no, it's not
I'm
the same thing,
saying-
actually, because I put 8 to 9
no,
hours
it
into
is
Yakuza.
completely, because I am not saying that Red Dead Redemption 2 is a bad game.
Yeah,
I'm
sounds like
just
it.
saying that I think Astrobot, from what I played, is a better one.
You can't take that stance, James.
Of course I can.
What? No, you can't.
Why can't
In
I?
fucking chapter 2, you put about 3 hours into it.
So?
Oh, fuck
Was
off,
it-
James. I think, that's fucking ridiculous.
the only way we're going to progress is if we can. Sean, what do we have to do to change your vote?
Why does it have to be me?
Because
Why do I
Dave isn't going to. It's
What
his
is this
game.
horseshit? The only way we can progress is if you guys change. What about if you change?
Well,
Matt.
I'm not going to change. Astrobot is the one.
Well,
for
nor
me.
am I. So what are we going to do?
It's going to be a long old podcast, isn't it?
Oh, we're
Well,
going
then
to
let's just
die
sit here
on
until
this
one of
show.
us breaks.
Fine.
And I guarantee James will be the first.
James ain't breaking.
James is breaking. He fucking breaks during the listeners' feedback.
Yeah, what? And if he forgets what
we
game
move
it
on?
is,
It's
Can we
10 to
move on?
12.
He
It is 10 to 12.
He
It's,
said-
you know,
James, I don't give a
He
fuck what time
voted-
it is.
he voted for Game of the Year in the final last time because he was tired.
That's why I want to get him on side now before he starts falling to pieces.
Okay. I got this.
Yeah, go on.
Right. I don't want to hear anything from anyone. I've got this.
Alan Sugar.
Red Dead Redemption 2
Yeah.
is incredible.
Yeah.
Utterly incredible. It was one of the most immersive experiences that I've ever had. I don't spend time with games like I spent time with this game. I would care for each and every member of the gang. I know Matt can't remember half of them, but I did.
Fuck off, Dave. I forgot the chef's name. Pearson.
No, you did. It's not that you forgot the chef's name. You turned around and went, "Oh, who was even that cook? The cook? Who the fuck gives a shit about him?" Well, a lot of people actually. He was a big part of that gang. If you give a shit. This game, like, it affected me so wildly. It had scenes in it that, as I said, you know, that powerful scene that I've never seen in a game before. I've never reacted emotionally. When I react emotionally in a game, it's usually like I get a bit upset because the character's dying, but that wasn't this. That's not what that game was doing. And, you know, Gardens Between certainly had that effect on me as well, but not to this level. Like that whole fucking bit really done me. And then, you know, the stuff towards the end of the game really done me. And, you know, I believe Red Dead Redemption 2 should be Game of the Year. But I would not be upset if Astrobot was Game of the Year as well. So we're at this like crossroads now, and I really, really, really don't want to do this at all. I don't think it's the right thing to do. I don't think it's the right decision. I just flat out think it's the wrong decision. But I just think maybe when you look at the four of us, when you've got 3 people that have played the game and have loved it, and then you've got 3 people that have played the game and 2 of us have loved it, and one of us not so much, the one of us that considers it's last gen, which is honestly one of the fucking weirdest things I've ever heard from anyone.
Come on,
totally batshit bizarre behaviour there from Matt.
How can you defend the controls and say they feel good? They don't. You're controlling a box. You're fighting a box.
I think other games have controlled a lot better, but I don't think they're bad. I don't think they screwed me up in like the first 2 missions of that game, and then I understood them. And that literally gunfights were totally fine for the rest of the game. Approaching people was totally fine for the rest of the game. It never bothered me again after that.
I will say one thing, right? This game says it's open world, but it's really not. It is when you're not doing a mission, but the second you do a mission, you have got to be exactly where Rockstar want you to be.
Oh my God,
otherwise,
Matt, I was just about to switch my vote, and now I'm not going to because you're a fucking wanker. The people say this is an open world game, but it's not.
I mean, that's always been Rockstar's thing, though, hasn't it?
But it feels like they're more strict with this one. I don't know. Like I tried to place a rake down or something in a mission, and I would put it somewhere where I thought this is logical place to put this thing, and mission failed.
A rake.
A rake. What are you on about?
Everyone knows it's a pitchfork.
Did you put it in a doorway so that someone would stand on it and then whack themselves in the face?
Oh, good point. Yeah. I got you.
You'd have probably picked up that it wasn't a rake and it was a pitchfork when if you didn't skip the cutscenes and shit.
I didn't cut. You know what I mean? You've made that up in your head. I haven't done that.
Wow. Didn't know who the cook was.
Well, that's going to have to do cutscenes, is it? What's that going to do cutscenes?
Well, he's in a few cutscenes. That's what I'm saying.
No, I mean, obviously, I've said I'm a big fan of the game, but there are elements. Just doesn't. It's not what I thought it would be. And
you're an idiot. I was this close to switching my vote. You said that twice now, Dave. Well, I'm not going to because because you're an idiot. This is people call this an open world game, but it's not. You didn't play it as the open world game that it is.
I did like 10 to 15 hours of the open world stuff, and I was like, I'm going to do the missions now.
Matt, you blitz through in a week. Makes me feel sick. This whole world there, and you just fucking ignoring it. Let's go towards the yellow bit.
can we just resolve this? Because I really need to go to the toilet.
Oh, that's
Can
a
we
new
just
one.
resolve
Well,
it?
James, you can resolve it if you want.
Well, I'm not.
let's-
Okay, after the way
let's
that
hear
you
him
guys
piss
fucked
himself.
me over with Detroit, I'm not going to...
Let's hear him piss himself.
Yeah,
Don't-
so-
Don't
on,
mute
let's
the
hear
microphone,
James
James.
pissing.
Want to hear this?
I want to hear it on the wooden floor, just dripping.
That's not happening. Go, just... What's going to happen? What are we doing?
Well, you're going to piss yourself, or you're going to switch your vote.
No, I'm not doing that. In fact, I'm going to drink some more hot house.
Mate, that's cut the podcast a little bit shorter.
Anyway,
Come on, James. James, what did you
Thank
think?
you.
Right,
There's no way.
okay. Let me ask you this,
Dave,
James.
you have totally fucked me over with Detroit. Why the fuck do I
James,
want to help you?
what did you think of the water levels in Astrobot? You know, when you were spraying water and things were filling up, and then you were just
Yeah, very
spraying water everywhere. Do you remember that? Do you remember the level in the ocean where you're just swimming around
Very
and
good,
there's
Dave.
all that water there, just the running water?
I
Lots.
don't care. I'm sitting here and I'm still drinking, so it's fine.
I don't agree with this, but I'll switch. We'll go Astrobot. I do not agree
Appreciate
with that. I don't agree with it. I
feel
don't agree with that at all.
dirty.
I feel that it's the wrong decision.
Yeah.
I think Astrobot is utterly incredible, but I think Matt and James like gimmicks more than I do. I think
it's gimmicks.
headbutting a football back at come
I
on.
thought that was fun, actually.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's good.
The other stuff I was let
totally
come towards me
disagree.
with the footballs, I
This
was
is the
definitely
thing,
giving
when
it.
you get
It was
VR,
an
when you get
excellent
VR
game.
people, Sean.
Yeah.
This is it. It don't take them much. You know what I mean?
I
Something
mean-
in your face. Woo. Oh yeah, no, that is immersive.
Despite the fact you were saying this was one of your top 2 games of the
It
year.
is. It's my
so
second
now-
best game of the year. But how
Well, yeah.
how you can look at Red Dead and what that does on a technical level, on a plot level, the fucking plot in that game, and
Do you know what would be good? Is when I
Go on.
play Astrobot and I'm just like, oh yeah, I'd have picked that if I'd
Exactly.
played it. Well, good.
no, it would be better if you were like, no, fucking hell, what did we do? It's a good game.
No,
It's a
yeah,
very good game. It's a fucking excellent game.
Yeah.
But it's up against Red Dead Redemption 2. That is fucking sickening. But
We're done
Right,
now.
what's
Let's move on.
next?
So, have we officially voted?
I think so.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
Dave
switching.
switched,
Okay.
so yeah.
You going for a piss?
Yeah.
Sorry,
I'll
I'll
do that. Back in a second.
Sean, you know what kills me the most?
Yeah.
Is that if James had just made it to Saint Denis,
Yeah.
his opinion would have been so different.
Yeah. I think that would have helped
It's
a lot.
everything. It's the exact sort of thing that you love,
Yep.
James. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying you would have voted for Red Dead over Astrobot, but what I'm saying is that you'd have understood. You'd have understood.
All right. I'll find out in the new year when I get back to it.
It just fucking kills me.
Yeah, I was totally about to say, well, that's it. That's Dave's year over, but I totally forgot you had Gardens Between still on the list. It's still happening.
Oh fucking hell, yeah.
Whew.
I mean, I'm surprised Sean didn't just switch votes for.
I was tempted just for a quiet life, but
Hold on, wait, James, you forced me to play Astrobot,
Yeah.
and I asked you to play Red Dead, and you just went no. You just didn't bother.
No, I didn't. When did you say that?
Last week, I said, please play some more Red Dead. Yeah, I'll go back to it, mate. You didn't. Oh, fuck's sake.
I didn't get around to it.
Fucking
I had to
betrayal.
finish Spider-Man.
no, you didn't.
I had to finish
you didn't.
Spider-Man for this.
You
No, you didn't.
have to finish it.
Spider-Man's already out.
He didn't know that at the time, did he?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
He knew deep down when they said, well, can you collect this shit now? He knew deep down it was going out first round.
Did you see that Kirk McKean did some annual awards on VG 24/7 and he gave Spider-Man the most competent game award?
What, kicking it nuts.
That's a very
Not fair at all.
That's
That's
a fair.
disgusting, that is. Oh, anyway.
Matt.
Well, that was a round. What's next?
Farlone Sales versus Detroit Become Human. Farlone Sales.
Farlone Sales.
Sales gets my vote.
Fallen Sales
James?
gets my vote, obviously.
Obviously, it's going to get my vote.
Well,
isn't it?
then that's Detroit out.
Well, hang on.
I mean,
I
it's-
haven't said my piece yet. There's still.
Oh,
It
whatever.
don't matter, does it?
Well, no,
You
I
could go on-
can convince you to switch.
I don't know if you can, mate.
Mate, you've got no hope of convincing me to switch again, ever. Ever. You're not going to be able to convince me to switch ever again.
Look, did you like the bit we had to clean a house?
No.
Fuck,
Hated
I'm
the
out.
game.
No, I'm done.
It served its purpose. It got rid of Yakuza to fuck James over and his little one taking back control nonsense that he come out with last week.
It would have worked
No,
if
it wouldn't have.
it hadn't have been up against one of my games. That's what kills me. I was praying it was going to come up against Red Dead, and it didn't. And I just, it was a gamble. It didn't pay off.
No, really backfired.
Full of frank apology.
Yeah,
It
well,
did, yeah.
this is the end for Detroit. It had a good run. I enjoyed the game. I'm gonna pour one out.
What is this?
This is me saying goodbye to my baby. That's what it is.
Well, it weren't your baby though, was it, Matt? It was
No,
James's.
thankfully he took it off me.
God of War versus Celeste.
Shit.
I mean, it's Celeste for me, but
It's God of War for me.
ooh,
It's Celeste for me.
James?
oh shit!
It's got a war for me.
James,
Here we go.
Deadlock.
do you want to die of old age live on air?
Well, I've not. Well, let me just take myself out of running. I've not played Celeste, so
Yeah.
God of War. I'm not going to switch.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, same.
I've played
either way.
both.
All right, come on, James. It's up to you.
Well, no, but I don't feel very well disposed to either
Okay.
of you after the Detroit stuff. So,
Oh, come on.
What did I do for Detroit?
Are you joking, Matt?
Celeste is a great.
James, have I not? No, well, yeah, I know. That's the point. Actually, you're on my side. Sorry, I don't know why I'm
Oh
arguing.
no! What you gonna say, Dave? Dave, just text me what you're gonna say,
I was going to say, text you.
and then I
What
was
are you up to,
going
Matt?
Are
like,
you texting
Oh,
people?
Matt's been active on the old text messages this evening.
Sean.
You haven't sent me any text, Matt. You haven't sent me any text, Matt. What did he text you? What did he text you, Sean?
Sean, let's move on. Let's not get into it.
No, we don't need
Sean,
to
what
get
did he
into it.
text
I
you?
just, yeah.
No, I want to know what he said. What did he say?
It was just trying to get me to switch in the last round.
But
And you
say
know,
what did he say?
I'll say like I would have considered it. There wasn't a compelling enough reason for me to switch to a game that I hadn't even played.
Yeah, and
Hold
we
on.
both
That
agreed
didn't
over
stop me with a
text.
tight. No, go on. What did he say? I want to hear the text.
Fuck's sake! Hang on, I have to get my phone out now. It wasn't that salacious. Hang on.
No, yeah, I was quite.
I bet it was.
behaved
It was just standard bargaining. Just said this is the time. Keep Astro bot in, and I'll support Celeste and Far.
And then Sean said, "But he'll come to my
Oh,
house and
come
kill
on.
me."
Yeah.
You're saying I would support Farlone Sales against Detroit. Your fucking bargaining is so shit, Matt. I remember, what was it, last year you went, oh, David, if you vote for this one, I'll vote for Zelda.
Yeah, that's why I didn't do any like pre-match bargaining this time because I thought I'm just so shit at it. So what's the point? Just anyway, Celeste, incredible game. It just so good. I mean, and I love God of War, but yeah, James, you play both. I mean, but I thought you really, really loved Celeste.
I did. I thought it was very good. But I don't like you very much at the moment, Matt.
You don't
So I
what?
don't-
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I've had 4 bottles
Yeah, do
of
we
beer,
announce now that James is actually
Yeah,
genuinely
James
pissed?
is absolutely wankered.
James, come on, man. Like, stay on the... Like, God of War is just class, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It was an
From start to
excellent
finish,
game.
the
I
whole
very much
tower,
enjoyed
the
it.
bit with the giant and everything. Fucking hell.
It's true.
Matt, you're gonna have to take a bullet this time.
What? Well, hang on. So me and Sean
Yeah.
Celeste, you two are God of War.
That's right.
I like Celeste. Yes, we'll keep going. James, come on. I
Do
know
you like
James.
God of War as well?
I thought God of War was stunning. Yeah, I said that before.
So
James,
well then, why
James,
is it?
we can-
Why is
we
it
can hear the
whenever we're
bottles
in
in the
these
background,
situations, it's someone else that has to change?
'cause that's how I'm going to play it. James, I know you're tired.
No,
Let's
James.
not drag,
tired,
let's
he's
not drag this
pissed.
out.
I'm not tired enough to help you, Matt, seeing as what you did to me.
You've been
So it's,
Matt, you've hit a dead end.
But Celeste is such a special game.
Yeah, I know, but you like God of War's to Switch.
Well,
Do you know what
James
else was
to
a
Switch.
special game? Red Dead Redemption 2.
Not last gen, mate.
Yakuza 6 was also pretty special to me as well.
Last gen,
what did you do?
Sean. That is the one that's killing me, and that's why, fuck you, I will never move from this, and I'll never switch for you again.
James, if you switch now, I'll support Tetris Effect.
Here he goes.
No fucking way.
James, think about it.
Well, and then you're just going to be in another deadlock, you dickhead.
Well, we don't know.
Wait, what's Tetris Effect up against next?
Gardens Between.
We don't know.
No.
There's no. Don't take that.
Well,
deal.
James. Then I promise a vote for Tetris Effect in the next round. Then
So it's going to be a deadlock again, Matt. You're not offering him anything.
what else have I got to offer at this point?
Nothing. So switch.
James, come on.
Oh, fuck off, Matt. It ain't happening.
I don't want to leave Celeste in. What are we in semis now?
Quarters.
After what you said about Detroit, I really don't feel like I want to help you, Matt.
Well,
Yes, James.
I had to defend it somehow. I had to defend it somehow. Come on.
Yes, James. Come on, mate. James, stay strong, man. Don't let
James,
him...
this isn't the time to suddenly grow a backbone. Just switch.
What are you talking about?
James,
That's not helping.
James,
Like, at all, Matt.
James,
you know?
Matt described on this very podcast Detroit as one of the most emotionally affecting games he's played all year.
I know.
Yeah. Okay, I'll agree with that.
So you want to side with him now? Yeah, side with him?
Absolutely not. Yeah.
James, come on.
It's a joke opinion, Matt. You know.
That's a bit harsh.
Matt, you're going to have to switch.
Is there anyone else? Okay, so Sean, you're pro Celeste.
Yeah.
And I respect you for that. It's an incredible game.
Yeah.
I'm pro Celeste. Dave, you're God of War because you haven't played Celeste. And then James is just picking a side because, you know.
Because you were a dick about
Let's not let that get in the way of things. You know, it's about the games. It's a celebration of games, not me. Yeah, it's not about us, James. It's about the games. Let's just think about which is the better
It's
game.
about you. You're trying to get him to switch his vote. It's
Ignore
of course
me.
personal.
And you were pretty personal and very rude earlier. So,
Was I rude?
Yes,
When was
James.
I rude to you personally?
what do you mean? What, by continuously arguing over me, you know, and sort of interrupting what I
That
was
was
trying
out
to
of
say?
order,
The whole
Matt.
thing.
That was out of order.
Oh, come on. Dave did as much as I did.
No, I didn't.
I wanted to hear your monologue about the game. It's incredibly well written.
Well, you're pretty quick to have a go about it and, you know, mock me for the whole thing. So
I wasn't the
don't
only
feel like
one.
helping
Anyway,
you.
what matters now, James, that I will vote for Tetris Effect in the next round. Now that's
I don't
I mean,
care,
James,
Matt.
if you're not going to do it for Matt, do it for me, mate. Come on.
exactly.
because-
Whoa.
There we go.
Okay, Sean.
Yes.
Sean. Why
Sean.
would I help you when you also fucked me over
Because
with Detroit?
that was a-
James is on it.
That
James
was
has
a
had few
necessary
beers, mate.
move
When did
because,
Sean
come on,
fuck you over?
Yakuza 6 was not going to make it through this round, and neither was Detroit. I was just moving things
Yeah,
on.
so you still voted for Detroit just to
No,
fuck
just
me
to
over.
move
So why would I
things
help
on.
you?
It wasn't.
Yes. Yeah, you're kindred spirits. You both want to move things on.
Yeah, exactly.
Matt, that's it.
Trying to get you to
It's
bed
it,
early,
mate. You're
It's not
done.
it, Dave.
Mate,
No,
it is.
Sean was about to
James
get
has
in
had
James.
a couple of beers, mate, and he's fucking well
Couple, he's
up.
had about
He's
four,
stuck
hasn't
He's well up for it.
Look, James, join me and Sean,
No,
and we'll
don't
sort it out
listen
in the next
to him.
round.
No,
No fucking way.
Fuck off.
James,
I mean,
who have you got a podcast with next year, yeah? Think about that.
Exactly.
I'll leave off.
I guess I did Dave, or the
Pathetic.
two of you talking to every single day and podcasting every week. You know.
I'm sorry, I'm significantly less scared of you, Sean.
That's fair. I'm not a frightening man, I'll be honest.
Sean's got moves. Don't let us
I like
unleash
that
them.
arrogance that Matt thinks that he could just get people to switch.
I'm just asking.
No, 'cause you were giving it the whole, oh no, someone needs to switch in the last round. So now it's your turn to switch. You
That's
like
not how
both
it
games.
works.
You like both games.
After the way you treated me, there's no way I'm switching.
Treated you, James. You wrote a 50-minute monologue just to mug me off.
Mate, you're not helping your...
Oh, shit.
Is it, Matt?
Well, yeah, long old wait, innit?
Matt, just switch.
I was all crack open another bottle.
Matt, just switch. What the fuck are you doing? Just do it. Just do it now. Come on. Look, it's not happening. You've tried and you failed. You like God of War. So what's the problem? You can't get
It's a very good game.
all your favourite games through. It's not how it works.
Give it a bloody good go, though, can't I?
No, well, you gave it a bloody good go, but now we're coming to the point where you need to be a man.
James, just right. Forget what happened in the previous rounds.
I don't think he's going to.
No.
Sure. Just forget what happened in the previous rounds. Like, James, we can get Tetris Effect to the final together if we work together.
Fuck off, Matt.
Yeah, James, you're the best.
Oh, but Celeste is so good.
I'm sure they're all good. All these games are good.
They're all very good at this point.
No, they're not. They're not all good, Matt.
Well, name one isn't very good at this point. Then what's not good?
Well, no. Obviously, ones that have been knocked out are maybe not as good.
We'll cover that. That's why I knocked out. Oh, James, you're going to regret this in the morning. You know that.
No, it's
really
not.
No, I meant the 4 beers.
All right.
Oh, come on, James, just switch. It'd be funny.
No,
He's
fuck
not.
off.
Matt, he's not going to switch. He's not going to do it.
Dave, do you wanna?
You know what's funnier is you begging me. That's what I'm enjoying.
Oh God, okay.
Okay, James. Do you like Amazon?
What are you offering him?
£5 voucher.
Nah, that's fuck all. What can you get?
That's outrageous, Matt.
I'm not.
And
That's
you're not.
Literal
postage.
bribery.
But who pays postage?
Yeah.
It's Prime, isn't it? Okay.
I mean, I'll take a bribe, but it's got to be worth it. £5.
Well, I'm not made of money, and we're still waiting for my next paycheck in December. I could owe you.
I wouldn't trust that.
What? You know
I
I'm
don't
good
trust
for
my
it.
dad.
You know I'm good for it.
Matt, he's not switching.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Right, James, this is your last chance.
He's not going to do it.
Fucking hell.
Okay, fine. Okay, it's Celeste, I love you, babe, but it's over.
Celeste is gone.
Oh,
Fucking
man.
hell.
Can't believe you did that, Matt.
Tetris-
Fucking hell.
Yeah, I know, that is what... I mean, what sort of guy just gives up on his morals like that? Tetris Effect versus the Gardens Between.
Do you know,
Sean.
I thought this was going to be a hard one. But I think it's Gardens Between.
I'm with you, mate. Gardens
you
Between.
are.
James?
I would go Tetris Effect, but I won't be devastated if it gets voted out.
But your
because
official
Gardens Between is
vote at
excellent.
the moment is what?
Is Tetris Effect.
And Matt?
It Tetris Effect, yeah.
James, come on. Just switch now. The past two have been really quick.
I know, what's left apart from these?
What do you mean?
What are the other
Well,
games?
no,
that
we
we've
don't want to spoil
got
the semis. People might have forgotten.
I don't know, because they're both really good games.
They are.
It's
They're
difficult.
both good games.
I do want to go and get another beer.
That's a good idea, James. Come on, Gardens Between's fucking brilliant.
Look, Tetris Effect is good, right? And as I've said, like, I think it's really good.
You did slag it off a lot, though.
I didn't slag it off. I'm not down on the game. I like the game. But think of how clever fucking Gardens Between was and how unique that whole experience was.
All right, okay. I'll change
Whoa, James, you're just going to do it. just 'cause Dave.
God's sake.
What is up with Matt?
No,
Like he's on a tear.
No, because it is true. It was a very good experience. I did enjoy it a lot. Yeah.
Is this just because you want another bottle of beer?
Yeah.
Oh, come on, James. Let's not do that. I mean, you've already worried about the feedback, and now you're basically mugging the audience.
You know
off
when we
just
do
choosing a
it's
game.
like-
the sort of knockout chart of what won what and how it all sort of went, can we put like little notes being like, James changed his vote on this because he wanted a beer?
James wanted a beer. James wanted a beer.
Is that official, James? Is that official?
Locked in. Do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Tetris Effect is gone. Go and get your beer.
I mean, I am a bit gutted that Tetris Effect is gone, but
You getting your beer?
Yeah, can I go and get another one? Yeah. Is that all right?
You go, mate.
All right,
You
I'll be
go.
back in a second.
Treat yourself.
Semi-finals, ladies and gentlemen. The semi-finals.
Here we go.
Astrobot versus Far Lone Sales.
I mean, obviously,
I loved Far Lone Sales. And again, like, thank you, Sean. Like, I mean, I wouldn't have played it otherwise. You said it, hadn't heard about the game before, got the codes, and I'm really, really thankful I did. But it's Astrobot for me.
No, I mean, I'm assuming Astrobot is going to win this, but I am thrilled that Far got as far as it did because
I mean, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's
to
brilliant.
get to the semis, and last week we were like, what game is that, Sean?
yeah, it's crazy. It is like proper out of nowhere. You know what I mean? When you said it, I just thought, fucking hell, that one's getting knocked off the list straight away. But it's made it to semi-finals, and I've got to go Astrobot. And like, as much as I loved Far Lone Sales, I have to go Astrobot.
James?
Same for me. I have to go Astrobot.
Token vote for Far,
Right.
but yeah.
Good shout. God of War versus the Gardens Between. Wow. Could you imagine that? I mean, polar opposite.
Yeah. So, same budget.
Yeah. So it's, similar, same genre, it's fine.
Well, Sean, yours is straightforward, right?
Yeah, Gardens Between, yeah.
Mine's Gardens Between.
Ooh.
Matt?
I mean, for me, it's God of War.
James?
James?
See, for me, it'd be God of War as well, probably.
Here we go. Here we go again. I really can't. No, I literally can't. Like, I enjoy God of War, but comparing these two games straight up, which one I enjoyed the most out of the two of them, it's the Gardens Between. I can't switch my vote on this one, so I'm going to just sit back. Well, thinking those games side by side, I enjoyed God of War a lot, but nowhere near as much as Gardens Between.
Yeah, I mean, I've not played God of War, and I loved Gardens Between, so I can't really budge either. So, James and Matt.
Okay, I'll switch my vote.
Oh, look at Matt. Fucking hell.
Good man.
Twice. I mean, he's become a flake. Right?
Fucking turncoat.
Flake of a man.
Have I become a flake of a man, or what? Or is that a better deal for me?
What do you mean?
Is it a better deal for you?
Don't worry about it. I'll go Gardens Between, yeah.
Okay.
We've got our final, ladies and gentlemen. We have our final. I'm surprised. I didn't see this being the final. It's Astrobot Rescue Mission versus The Garden Between. What is going to be our game of the year for 2018? Hey, I'm a poet.
We've finally got here.
Right, so, I mean, we've spoken about both these games at length.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I'll start. I've only played one of them, so it's Gardens Between from me.
is it James?
Definitely, it's Astrobot.
Matt?
Definitely Astrobot for me.
Oh, no.
Well, The Gardens Between's my game. It was the one that I nominated. And I adore it. I think it's a special game. But out of these two, I think I'm going to have to vote Astrobot Rescue Mission.
It's a stunner.
So that's it. That is it.
That is it. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and also I feel sick.
I'm gutted. Yeah, weirdly. I mean, I've not played Astrobot. I am really looking forward to it, but I was when it was like the second round, and I was a bit like, fuck, I think The Gardens Between might do it, and I was very excited about that idea.
I'd never really considered it to win overall, but I'm really
It was
glad
excellent,
it's got
but
that
I still
far.
wouldn't put it. I still wouldn't put it as being like quite in the same league as like Astrobot and even Red Dead Redemption. To be honest,
On merit, you've not played it on merit. On merit as well. You know what I mean? It's not like you know, it hasn't deserved to be there, like, because it fucking does. It's just the way that this system works out sometimes. You know, games get through that you don't expect them to. As you remember, 2 years ago, none of us would have put money on Trackmania winning overall, but it that's the way it happened, and you know, part of me thought that Astrobot could take this. I don't agree with it, because Red Dead Redemption is one of the best games I've played in this gen.
Yeah, the same here,
gen.
definitely.
No, last gen, isn't it, Matt?
Well, it depends. Some elements, definitely.
Depends. Yeah, it depends if you're a fucking idiot or not, I guess.
Depends if you look. You have to play with the controls and the mission structure. Sorry, it's not about that. Let's move on.
But having said all that, Astrobot Rescue Mission is absolutely worthy of its Game of the Year status. Totally, absolutely. And I think there were parts of that game where I was thinking, like, I knew this was going to be in the Game of the Year discussions, right? And there was parts of it where I was thinking, yeah, it's really good, but is it Game of the Year though? Like, is it? And then by the time that I'd beaten that, what must be described as probably the best final boss in any game ever. You know what I mean? Like, as much as I love Mario Odyssey, and I think, yes, ultimately it's a better game than Astrobot Rescue Mission, you think about that final boss in that game, like, this Astrobot's final boss fucking pisses on it from a great height.
Yeah.
It's so clever. So clever. So, yeah, all right, we all seem a bit deflated for some weird reason, but ultimately I think that is
I'm absolutely not. I'm so ridiculously pumped. I'm so happy that this game got as far as it did. I know, like, often VR games are a tough sell, but this game does seem to have broken through, and lots of people are talking about it and have been, you know, talking up. And every time someone mentions, like, this game on, like, you know, the podcast I listen to, I think, yes, you know, it's not just me cheerleading this. This is a great game, regardless of whether you are, in inverted commas, a big VR fan or just a fan of games. And if you play games, you know, as long as we all have, and as you know, obviously games have been around for so long, but this is just it just feels fresh in a way that's sort of hard to describe, because it builds on so many things that we've been playing for years and years and years. And this is sort of only really the start. This is like one of the first big goes, and they've absolutely smashed it. So God knows where we'll be in, you know, 5-10 years time. We all love that demo on the PlayStation Worlds demo disc for PSVR, and to see them sort of push on and develop that into this game has been incredibly exciting. And no game has made me want to text someone after every single level, or even mid-level, like this game has this year.
That was me. Like that was me and Sean on Red Dead.
Yeah. That demo, like, was brilliant. But I think we were all a bit sort of like, but they're not going to have enough ideas to do a full game of that. It's just like, that was like a really condensed thing, you know. And then it's like, by this, I haven't played it, but it sounds like, oh no, they did have
they really did.
Sean, I am 100% positive that when you get to play this game, you will then text us and say, yeah, we made the right choice.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm so convinced that you will be texting us throughout your play time of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And go 2-1, 2-2, oh my god,
and have the same experience.
Yeah, that's what it's like.
Yeah. No, I'm properly looking forward to it.
Yeah. There we go then. That's it. We're done.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm leaving the show now, and I probably won't return after that.
Just before you go, Dave, we have we've sent you something. If you can check your emails or whatever, but obviously last week you're like, I haven't had a physical present.
But it's just
I mean,
rude.
It does look a bit like we've done this.
It does
off the
now,
back
actually. I was
of-
thinking about
Oh,
that.
that's very nice. I've seen it. Yeah,
He
that's
wanted us to
incredible.
buy him something.
Mother Care
Yeah.
voucher. That is perfect. Thank you for that. I mean,
Nice one.
Xbox voucher probably would have been better, but I suppose because of the themes of my life at the moment. No, that's really, really nice of you. Thank you so much.
Obviously, we weren't going to let you go without
worries,
getting
man.
something because we're all going to miss you massively.
I'm going to
man.
miss all of you. I love, what's better than doing this? Nothing. There's a few things, but
Very few things.
very few things. It's going to kill me not to be part of the show for a while. But as I said last week, becoming a listener is not a bad transition to make.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
And if you've made it all the way to the end of this podcast, I think we would all like to say that your support throughout this year has been unbelievable. The live shows and the people that come to those are just incredible. The people that email in, tweet, and even if you just listen and want to keep your distance, we appreciate every single one of you. There's a few that
Most of you.
we appreciate most of you. No, seriously, jokes aside, it's been an utterly unbelievable year for us. Like, unbelievable. From the Kickstarter to 2 live shows to the Games Media Brit List Award. It's been just non-stop, like, living the dream, basically. And I really hope you have a wonderful Christmas and a fantastic New Year. And I hope to get to speak to you again soon at some point. And yeah, I mean, I said it all last week, but thanks, boys. You're going to smash it next year. I can't wait.
Oh yeah. Also, our next show, our first show of the new year, will be on Wednesday, the 9th of January. So look out for that.
I'm weirdly looking forward to it. It's like, obviously,
All right.
it's going to be weird and different. And get out of the way, mate. Fucking.
Yeah, move over. Here we go.
But no, I mean, I've said to you, Dave, like, sort of 6 months ago, like, I've always got on with Matt and James, but I've sort of been mates with them through you.
Yeah.
But I really feel like the last few months is like, no, we can do this. Be all right.
Yeah, it's been great.
I think it's, yeah.
I'm scared.
I've just been, all right, well, James is scared. Vote with no confidence from James there. Thanks, mate.
Yeah, great.
No, I'm scared mostly because of the feedback I'm going to get. I mean, I'm sorry about Dead Cells.
I assume
really,
you were
sorry
scared
about
mostly
that.
because the room's fucking spinning at the moment.
Oh, yeah, there is that.
Well done, that's sick.
But yeah, just doing the show like these last few months, like it's always been enjoyable, but especially recently, yeah, it's just been fucking like properly looking forward to it every week. So yeah, I'm excited.
Wicked. Well, then we'll.
But it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be.
It's not.
The same.
It's going to be
But
a
it's
massive
just-
change. But we're for everyone listening out there, we're going to work our ass off and try and produce something close to this. Maybe better, maybe worse. We'll be here every week to produce what we can. And I can't wait for next year.
You'll be fine.
There's loads of things I want to do.
You'll come in, you'll smash it. It'll be a bit weird for a couple of episodes, and then you fucking love it.
Yeah.
It'll be great. So don't worry about it.
But
And,
I just want to say thank you for putting up with with all our shit all year. All the tweets and the Instagrams and the memes and stuff. Yeah,
I mean, you say our shit,
It's-
Matt.
that's all my
That is
shit, isn't it,
your.
But I'm just trying to get us out there, boys. Anyway, I mean, it's an absolute. It is like a privilege, like to get to do this stuff and people engaging with it, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I love doing it, and hopefully everyone listening has enjoyed our stuff as much as we've enjoyed putting it out. And I can't wait to see where we go next year.
Yeah.
So for the last time, for a while, thanks for living it. Astrobot, TCGS,
Game of the year.
GOTY, 2018.
I haven't even fucking played it.
Goodbye, everyone.
Night.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.